What's going on, friends? It's Anton Daniels, and I gotta have a conversation with you guys about Tiege Hanley because you see how the sun is hitting me. This is no finesse, no makeup, no filters, no none of that. This is 100% Tiege Hanley. I use it in the morning as soon as I get up, right after I pray and brush my teeth, jump in the shower, and I'm hitting the streets because you never get a second chance to make a first impression. So even though they're giving you 40% off your first order, 20% off for life, even though you may get a free gift, forget all that, right? Because we would do this even if it was full price because it's worth that much. I'm in the streets, I'm kicking it with people, and I see Dusties everywhere. You don't want to be them. You want to separate yourself. And the way that you separate yourself is self care. Ladies get it for the fellas. Fellas don't wait for the ladies to get it for you. I'm about to hit the streets right now, and I'm feeling confident. I'm feeling great. I mean, I already got confidence, but to have that extra boost of confidence, knowing that you've taken care of yourself and you set yourself apart from all of the rest of the sheep that's walking around making bad decisions on a daily basis. And it's reflected in their actions. It's reflected in the products that they use. It's reflected in the people that they follow. And so if you're trying to level up, if you're trying to make sure that you look good, they're going to send you the pack. They're going to give you all of the instructions on how you're supposed to use it. Then make sure you get your Tiege Hanley. Again, 40% off your first order, 20% off for life. Get your free gift. Make sure you tap in with your boy Anton Daniels because Unc is never going to lead you wrong. I would never have you use a product that I don't use myself. Again, they've been rocking with me for a long time. Make sure you get your Tiege Hanley. I love you. I appreciate you. I'm going to holler at you guys later. What's going on is Anton from AntonDaniels.com. I appreciate you guys for continuing to rock with me. Thank you for tuning in for another edition of the Millionaire Morning Show. I am your host, Anton Daniels. What up, what up, what up, what up, what up, what up, what up? What up to all of my friends and family in the building? I appreciate you. You guys are absolutely awesome. And we are in here Tuesday, April 15th, 2025, year of our Lord. 2 days after the greatest day on earth, my birthday. You know what I'm saying? But we here. So what up to all of my friends and family? What's going on, y'all? I see you, Purple Haze, Trini Life. Says, what will not the 2000 in the chat outside of this group, black people asleep? Global, no, I wouldn't touch you. I'd call a cop when you walk into the room. Oh, y'all beefing in the chat today. Y'all beefing in the chat? What's going on in the chat? What's up to all of my friends? Not this early in the morning. Come on, y'all. Y'all already want to make it an issue. Should I just cancel certain subjects that I believe that we need to discuss because y'all getting a little extra. Y'all emotional. Don't even have the details yet. I haven't even told y'all everything that's going on and y'all are already upset. Good morning, y'all. Good morning, good morning, good morning to everybody that is in the Millionaire Morning Show. It was an explosive show last night on the Q show. And so that's awesome. Life is good. Life is awesome. I want to acknowledge some people early today that supported the platform. And we're going to go ahead and get started with the show because I got a full show for you guys today. So first things first, I want to acknowledge Annie Marie says, happy belated birthday, Anton. I appreciate you, Annie Marie. Again, Molly looked out for me yesterday. Mike, that dude, is in the building. I appreciate you. Spencer Campbell says, good morning, AD. And ESDC is in the building. I appreciate everybody for holding me down on Cash App. Thank you, you guys. Make sure you guys get the Tiege Hanley. 40% off your first order, 20% off for life. Also, we are doing Block Club. Or should we do a content creation session? I think we're going to do a block club tomorrow. Y'all want to do a block club tomorrow night? Patreon exclusive. I was going to post the details of the meetup yesterday. I think I'm going to post it today instead. When I was talking to Q yesterday, she was like, oh, that's my birthday weekend. And I'm like, wait a minute. Let me figure out some dates. So as of today, I'm thinking June 28th, tentatively, June 28th, 2025. Obviously, I'm not going to tell the general public the details of where the location is going to be and all of that. You're going to have to be a bag chaser. You're going to have to be a Patreon member to do that. But we can figure out what we want to do. I'm so reluctant to release some details. But meetup, DC, June 28th. More details is going to be inside of the Patreon today, so y'all can look forward to that. We got after hours tonight, so y'all can come and see Molly and her clavicles. You know what I'm saying? That's what Quentin like to call it, her clavicles. We can see Molly. We can get my girl Carrie. We're going to have some very interesting. I got some good subjects tonight. Yeah, listen, we're going to get beyond just relationships and we're going to start dealing with some real life subjects. After hours about this, it's going up. It's absolutely going up. Releasing vlogs every day on Darth Anton. So for those of you that may not be familiar, I've moved all of my vlog content. So I used to vlog early in the morning and I used to give my thoughts, not even vlog, but just to give like my thoughts on a quick thing every single day. So we've moved away from that. And the Anton Daniels channel was only for commentary, debates, the Q show, stuff like that. And we've moved all of my personal thoughts into the vlog content. All right. So if you're interested, I'm not telling you you need to be interested because I don't want you to see that side of me. I'm trying to really, really temper and limit the exposure of some of the things that my life is like behind the scenes. But if you are interested in what my life is like on a day-to-day basis, I upload almost every day. Go and check out the vlog. It's called Darth Anton. But other than that, life is good. You know what I'm saying? Life is absolutely good. Yeah, it's awesome. It's awesome. Somebody said, I wish you had a call-in. I need to get in touch with Q. You know what the problem is with call-ins? I did a call-in show last Friday on After Hours. And people was fumbling. Some people was scared to come up. People was emotional. They didn't have their audio right. That's the problem with call-in shows is that when you allow for people to do it, they're not ready. They're not ready. They asked for call-in shows the week before. And so we finally did it last Friday. I gave it a little bit of a test run. It went okay. But it was a lot of people that was in the back that you never seen me bring up. They wasn't ready. They wasn't on camera. They stuff was blurry. It looked like they was recording with a potato. And it's like, well, if y'all not ready for a call-in show, then I can't do a call-in show because you're bringing down the quality of the content. And I can't have the quality of the content suffer in any way, shape, or form. So if y'all want a call-in show, then you're going to have to get yourselves together too. Because then you really going to be a part of the show. And I've had people in the past reach out to me, Anton, my girl is mad at me because I said, I'm like, nigga, you said it. You the one that said it. And I warned you. I said, listen, you don't have to give your personal information. But if you decide that you want to call in, then that's up to you. They call in, then they crash out afterwards. Man, my girl is mad at me. You didn't know that it was going to be 4,000 or 5,000 people watching at the time, and then it was going to be another 30,000 that restreamed it. You didn't know? Okay, well, and most of the time I go ahead and, okay, I'm going to go ahead and take it down, or I'll chop it out. But people be acting extra. People be acting extra. What's going on, K Cooper? What's up, Zeroice? What up to all of my people? Hey, listen, I want to give a special shout out. Thank you, Craig Jacob. I appreciate you. I want to give a special shout out to everybody that dislikes me. All right. And the reason that I'm giving a shout out to everybody that dislike me, and let this also be a lesson for content creators, and we're going to go ahead and get into the show. I'm going to say a prayer today. The reason that I'm giving a shout out to everybody that dislike me is because they don't really dislike me. They really like me, but they like to get attention. And we are one of the rare platforms that allow for people that have a difference of opinion or disagreement to be able to get their stuff off. So at the very least, you got to appreciate me, even if you don't necessarily care for what it is that I got popping off, right? At the very least, you got people have to, because y'all not going to love it. Y'all not going to acknowledge it until it's gone. Then you're going to miss me. Then you're going to miss me when I be like, all right, I'm retiring. I'm just doing real estate 100% full time. But the interaction back and forth with the audience, don't no content creators acknowledge y'all. Ain't nobody interacting with the chat in real life. Ain't nobody allowing for people to get their stuff off, even if they disagree with me. Nobody does that. Zero. Once you get past, I'm telling you, go and check any other live streams. Once you get past a certain level, people do not even look at the chat. They don't acknowledge them, or they tell people to time out the people that they don't care for, and that's the end of it. We have a nice community of rugrats, misfits, and people that belong in room 9, along with the intellectuals and the bag chasers. We all just mixed in together in one big ball of gumbo, and we have a good time every single morning. And you don't even get blocked. So at the very least, you got to appreciate it. You got to appreciate it. Paul Johnson says, no, don't retire. Oh, don't worry about it. We're going to be here for some years. We're going to be cooking up for some years. If I ever decide to walk away, I would do real estate full time. I love building. I love going into properties. I love speculating. Yo, block club. Yeah, we're going to do a block club tomorrow night because I got to show y'all the appreciation. I bought a piece of land. I bought a piece of land for $35,000 in June last year. This year, I went and seen what the appraisals was, and I also correlated it with what the sites were saying online because I couldn't believe that it jumped that much. I sat on it. I haven't even started building on it. That same property is worth over $140,000. I got it at a steal last year. Now it's worth $105,000 more than what I paid for it in 1 year. A lot of people don't even know, and I'm going to go into this. I'm telling you, Detroit and the Metro Detroit area is going to be one of the hottest exploding real estate markets, and I've been telling y'all for years, and we've made a whole lot of money here, and the property values is exploding. There is no more houses that's available to be chopped. Detroit and its surrounding areas is booming, and a lot of people don't understand, and they so busy caught up in their emotions that they don't understand where the money is. By the time people start to figure out, it's some other places, and this is one of the things that I want to talk about with you guys on Block Club, because I'm gonna show you the numbers. I'm gonna give you all the insight and stuff. There is so much money to be made out here. It is incredible. Greatest buying opportunities ever, but everybody trying to chase them, trying to be behind the Joneses, don't got their money together, don't have things together. But you own it, Jazzier? You own it, Craig? Y'all own it? It's booming. It's absolutely booming. Anyways, again, make sure you guys hit a like for the algorithm, subscribe to the channel with 10 of your notifications. Let me see something real quick. I ain't been on Facebook in years. What's going on Facebook, man? I'm going to have to figure out what my login is on Facebook so I can log in and see what's going on out in these streets. Heard the new iPhone 17 about to come out. All right, y'all. Let's go ahead and get started with the show. Make sure y'all hit a like for the algorithm, subscribe to the channel, and turn on your notifications. Lord, bless us. Bless us. Bless us to be profitable. That's my prayer for people today. Bless people not to miss opportunities because they're so caught up in knowing everything instead of being open to the opportunities that's presented to them. Lord, bless us not to shoot ourselves in the foot. Bless us not to limit our opportunities. Bless us to be focused. Bless us to be dedicated. Bless us to be open-minded and not to limit ourselves based off of our own mindset. Because God was so interesting. I was talking to somebody yesterday and I just completely shut down. And this was in real life, y'all. I completely shut down and I stopped giving the information and they were broke as hell. But have y'all ever noticed that the brokest people are the ones that have the biggest opinions and the most to say? When you start talking business, they always telling you what they can't do and all of that stuff. Bless us not to be that. Bless us not to be negative. Bless us not to be unfocused. Bless us to be objective in our opinions, but at the same time, opportunistic and capitalistic when it comes to our bag. Bless the bag to multiplieth. In Jesus' name, amen. All right. Yeah. Oh, look, gotta block one. They just had to overstep their boundaries. All right, y'all. So make sure y'all hit a like for the algorithm, subscribe to the channel, and turn on your notifications. I love you. I appreciate you. Let's go ahead and get to the show. So the first thing that I want to talk about today is, well, you know what? Before I do that, let me read some of the super chats. And then we're going to go ahead and get started. R3 says, you motivate me. I appreciate you. I appreciate you too, R3. Thank you for rocking out with us. N. Patterson says, when's the book coming? My vlog is the book. You know what I'm saying? If you want to see it in real time, all you got to do is tap into the vlog. Untouchable City Prepper says, thanks for setting the standard for black men. I'm on it. I keep on trying to convince myself that I need to go on tour so that I can lower my standards. So we're going to take one step back and then take two steps forward in the summer. If you know, you know. Shout out to Untouchable. Quentin Tarantino says, I'm a black man, ex-Dusty, married to a conservative Japanese woman. I'm fluent in Japanese, make $130,000 a year, back in school for finance and joining the Bag Chasers. Let me get that on there. Shout out to Quentin. I love that. I love it. Chatford Moore says, good morning, Anton. I want to give a 29th birthday shout out to my babe, Destiny. Happy birthday, Destiny. Yo, a shout out to all of the people that got April birthdays. EB Miles, Ep Miles Davis says, good morning, AD. Keep pressing forward. Avoid the tour. Mr. Lott said, I needed that prayer. Mr. Lott, I'm on it. I'm going to do it. I'm going to continue to read Super Chats throughout the show. I appreciate everybody that support the platform. All right, y'all ready to go ahead and get it popping? Moderators, make sure you deal with the trolls accordingly. We're going to have a short leash on crazy comments because we don't give them any visibility whatsoever. Not going to even acknowledge them. People that got differences of opinion and different perspectives, you're welcome to go ahead and say whatever it is that you want to say, but we don't do disrespect over here on the Millionaire Morning Show, all right? Y'all ready to go ahead and get it popping? All right, let's rock. So, first things first, before we get into Karmelo Anthony and Austin Metcalf, I kind of look at this as a little bit of a quick hits. Thank you, Uncut Underground. I'm going to rock out with you and read that. Yes, I'm actually talking about that today also. And thank you, Abundance Mindset. I'm going to be reading that shortly. I want to talk about Harvard. And this was on my radar because I was talking to a good friend of mine that still works at the University of Michigan. And they were communicating to me that the students, the alumni, people that were not even a part of the university up in Ann Arbor were protesting, telling the university to stand against Trump. Let me say that again for the people in the back. They were communicating to the regents. So the regents are the ones that determine the path of the university. It's kind of like a board, right? And a publicly traded company. You have a board. The board is the ones that really control the company. And they are the ones that hire the CEO to execute on the vision and ultimately return shareholder value. And so it's similar at any major university. They usually have a board of governors, a board of regents. You can even vote on some of these inside of your election. I bet you didn't know that. This is one of the reasons why you got to participate in the election process. We keep saying, well, our vote don't matter. It absolutely matters. It 100% matters. Even when it comes to the people that control the destiny of the universities that you attend or that your children will eventually attend. And what I've noticed over the years, because I at one point worked at the University of Michigan way back in like 2010, 12, something like that, right? 12, 13, 14 or whatever. University of Michigan has changed. Ann Arbor has changed. Maybe not the university so much, but Ann Arbor has changed. Where the University of Michigan is. It has become so liberal, so crazy, that it is one of the pioneering places that advocated for and then also progressed into transitioning surgery for children. It was one of the leading places that helped for the surgery of children that transitioned from boy to girl or girl to boy. And now there's adults that was a part of that program that's walking around and having conversations and saying things like, hey, listen, I regret it. I wish my parents had waited. You guys need to let your children be children. And then eventually, if they become adults, then they can start having a conversation and do whatever it is that they want to do. But Ann Arbor is a very, very, very liberal place. Very liberal place. Much different than even the 2010s when I worked there, right? The Democrat Party used to be a different party. It wasn't so extreme left. You guys know me. I'm not an advocate for extreme left, extreme right, any of that stuff. I think our children need to be protected. I think that these campuses are largely becoming indoctrination camps, and diversity, equity, and inclusion didn't help anybody. All it did was gave people an excuse to continue to get rid of people that wasn't supposed that was supposed to be there in favor of people that didn't meet it from a merit-based perspective. However, Harvard is considered one of the most prestigious learning institutions in the world. And there has been protests on the campuses of places like Harvard, Columbia, University of Michigan, places like that. Columbia largely acquiesced over into whatever it is that Trump said that he wanted to implement in a merit-based system and get away from diversity, equity, and inclusion, and started to leave our universities from being indoctrination camps. But Harvard took a little bit different of a stance. Let me play this, and then we're going to come back and have a conversation about it, all right?
The Trump administration tonight firing back at Harvard University after the school basically set up a showdown with the Trump administration, rejecting some of the White House's demands on its policies. A White House spokesperson saying, in part, President Trump wants to end unchecked anti-Semitism and that Harvard's response could put its federal funding at risk. But Harvard's president says the university will not surrender its independence and that neither Harvard nor any other private university can allow itself to be taken over by the federal government. The Trump administration had something like 10 demands for Harvard, including the elimination of DEI programs and the restriction of acceptance of international students who are, and I'm quoting here, hostile to American values and institutions. Stephanie Gosk is joining us.
So before I get into the whole chain of events that's happened in less than 48 hours between Harvard and the Trump administration, what is so bad about requiring people that come from international backgrounds fly into the to the United States of America, attend our universities, and requiring to them to meet the expectations that we have of our own citizens in the United States of America? That you cannot be hostile towards American values and institutions. What's wrong with that? What's wrong with eliminating diversity, equity, and inclusion programs that promote things and people above people that actually deserve to be there in our merit-based system? Implement merit-based admissions and hiring practices. So the best person for the job is the person that gets the job. The best person, or the person that has the best grades, the best background, the best possibility of being able to graduate and adding into our economy, adding into the United States of America, systems, all of that, that is the person that gets it above the person that may not meet as many expectations. You should not push out a person, or they should not be punished for being the best at what they do. I'm trying to understand what is so difficult and what's so wrong. Thank you, A.R. Smitty. I'm going to read that shortly. What is so difficult and what's so problematic about those requirements? Because you do realize that they get an exceptional, and when I mean exceptional, an exceptional amount of money from our taxpayer dollars and from the federal government. So if you're going to be sourcing private funds, then you need to meet the expectation, or public dollars, then you need to meet the expectation of what taxpayers are demanding that you do.
Now, you couldn't think of a perhaps bigger name in the world of college universities to go basically head to head with the Trump administration on some of these controversial changes that the White House wants. What happens next here?
Well, you know, it's interesting, Hallie. First of all, it's worth pointing out that Harvard receives $9 billion worth of federal funding from the government.
That is a problem. That is absolutely a problem. Did y'all hear this number? Do y'all hear how many of your tax dollars are going to these institutions of higher learning, a private college that largely turns into an indoctrination camp? Harvard receives some form of about $9 billion. $9 billion. Now, I haven't had the opportunity to deep dive into exactly where those numbers come from and how it's allocated, but think about this for a reason. Obviously, they get federal funding as a university. They also get funding in the form of research dollars and grants and all of these different things. So the United States of American taxpayers are helping to fund institutions of higher learning. And when they put parameters of what they can and can't do as a result of getting the money, how can you set up a fight with the taxpayers? Because they're not fighting with Trump. They're fighting with taxpayers. Let's play it out.
And so that's a real hammer that the government has, and can hold that above Harvard University, try to get them to make some of these changes. This letter that Harvard received on Friday night is really long, and it has a lot of very specific things that they are calling on the university to do to get this funding. Among them are things like hiring an independent third party to determine whether there's anti-Semitism on campus and in the curriculum. Also to make sure that there's diversity of opinion on campus. And you've heard a bunch of White House officials, including the vice president himself, talking about how there is throughout our universities, a kind of sickness where there is no diversity of opinion. And this is clearly part of an effort to change the way universities operate. And they're holding this funding, which is really how research is done at universities, in large part because of this funding. They are holding that over the heads of schools and universities around the country.
Harvard is a wealthy school. They just are, right? How much of an impact is this going to have on them? Let's say they were to use that federal funding. To your point, Steph, in the world of carrots and sticks, I mean, that's a big one. How much of an impact could this actually have?
Well, really big. I mean, $9 billion is a lot of money. The school very clearly relies on it. And yes, they are an incredibly wealthy school. But if that is removed, that will change how research is done on campus. But interestingly, Harvard taking a stand in a very public way, and not just about itself, also saying that universities and schools around the country should follow their lead. They are calling this a violation of their First Amendment rights. Hallie.
Thanks for watching. Stay updated about breaking news and top.
What Harvard is saying is they are the smartest of the group, but then they're going to oppose the Trump administration and say, you know what? We're not really interested in meeting this expectation. We're going to fight, even though you guys are giving us over $9 billion in funding. We're going to fight this, and we're going to require you to still send us over $9 billion a year. Oh, okay. Well, this is what happened after the protests, after Harvard's president and their alumni decided that they wanted to take a stand against the Trump administration. This is how it wound up playing out.
Thanks for joining us. I'm Chris Tanaka with a WBZ News update. The federal government is freezing billions of dollars in funding to Harvard University. The move happened after the university's decision to reject a list of demands from the Trump administration. The government is now pulling $2.2 billion in grants and $60 million in contracts from Harvard. The Trump administration had asked the school for broad reforms, including changing admissions policies, an audit of diversity on campus, and the university to stop recognizing some student clubs. Well, an Uber driver in Salem says he feels lucky to be alive after he was caught in the crossfire of a shooting.
Because I want to also get CNN's perspective, because I always like to get the liberal view so that we can get the full gist of what's going on over there. Here's Caitlin Collins. We're actually going to talk about her a little bit later in the show.
Major clash is now unfolding between President Trump and his battle against some of America's top universities, announcing this evening more than $2.2 billion in federal funding has been frozen for multi-year grants and contracts at Harvard. That comes after Harvard said tonight that it was rejecting a list of demands from the administration on sweeping changes and would fight back against them. Those demands came from a federal task force that the administration says is combating anti-Semitism on college campuses following protests against the war in Gaza. But the list of demands included things like dismantling diversity initiatives, auditing academic and hiring practices, and also installing leaders who are committed, the White House said, to implementing the changes they want to see. We saw a response from Harvard tonight, and the legal team responding to that saying, quote, the university will not surrender its independence or relinquish its constitutional rights. Neither Harvard nor any other private university can allow itself to be taken over by the federal government. Now, Harvard's $9 billion that's at stake here is just a fraction of the billions that the Trump administration has been targeting at schools across the country. Harvard's decision, though, appears to be the first time that we have seen a school directly refusing to comply. This comes as the Harvard faculty chapter of the American Association of University Professors and its national counterparts sued the Trump administration. My source tonight is the Harvard law professor and general counsel of the organization at the heart of this lawsuit. Andrew Manuel Crespo is here in his first TV interview since that suit was filed. And so thank you so much, sir, for being here. Given all of these developments happening tonight, can I first just get your response to the administration saying tonight that it's going to have this $2.2 billion freeze? What kind of impact does that have?
Well, thanks so much for having me. And while this cut is obviously deeply disappointing and a real blow, not just to Harvard, but to higher education across the United States, it's not exactly unexpected. The Trump administration has been threatening to withhold and then withholding millions and then billions of dollars from some of the leading institutions of higher education in the country. The impacts of those cuts will be severe, not just to cutting-edge research, cures for cancer, cures for diseases, studies that try to understand the most cutting-edge technology, but also all of the work that happens at these universities with respect to how we study our history, the things that are essential to our democracy. There's a lot that happens at these universities that are essential to having a free democracy, and that's, I think, exactly the reason why they're all under attack. So the impact is significant, but I'm
As a person that has worked at a university and that has studied extensively how universities use these funds, I will personally tell you that universities, first of all, has historically, some of the major universities, University of Michigan, if you can get a job at any of these places, they don't pay a lot of money, but they have a really, really great benefit package because obviously you are working for an institution of higher learning. Most of the time it is a public college. And so you are basically working for a nonprofit organization. Your retirement package is a little bit different. You don't have a 401k, you have a 403b, for example. The University of Michigan was the first place that I ever worked at that double matched. They double matched your retirement, right? They also paid for you to go to college, 100% almost tuition free. In a STEM field, as a matter of fact, because a lot of places, a lot of organizations, a lot of places that you may work at, they might not pay for it depending on the curriculum that you suggest. They may want to pay for you to go to school. That may be a part of your benefit package, but it has to be something that's more closely aligned to how you're going to benefit that said business or organization, right? Healthcare coverage was exceptional. All of the benefit packages was exceptional. Working from home, you get all of these perks and benefits, right? And so historically, working for the federal government or for a nonprofit organization or a major university is attractive, not because you need the money, right? That's one of the hacks that I give people or that I tell people, in that you don't have to pay 100% for schooling or college. You can forego the money, especially if you have another business that's booming, or you have some other job, or you have something that you got going on the side that largely covers any of your real expenses, and you want to leverage it to go to school. I went to community college. Eventually, I transferred over to a major university. University of Michigan also helped pay for that education. And so that is how I then limited the amount of exposure that I had to student loans while at the same time running up a bag, because the schedule that I had made for easy, it was very easy for me to run other businesses, do other things. They didn't even limit me. I didn't have to sign a non-compete agreement, any of these things. But I will tell you that I had a lot of interactions with a lot of people within the major university sector. I worked at like one block away from the big house on Green Street. And it's funny because I talked to some of the colleagues I used to work with. All of them still work there. Why? Job protection. You never really get layoffs. The University of Michigan did not suffer. The whole Metro Detroit area was impacted hard by what happened in the housing crisis in 2008. Ann Arbor, they went along business as usual. Why? Because universities were largely protected by the federal government, and also people would go to school and enroll more. Once you started to hit a recession or the housing crisis, people went back to school in order to get new skill sets so that they can compete for the jobs that was to come. but they get a lot of money to study this and to study that and new emerging technologies that will eventually be leveraged by the government or other organizations. I remember the University of Michigan, if I'm not mistaken, at one point was using research dollars and grants to figure out how we can prolong our roads so that you didn't have to redo the roads longer. And so they was doing a special set of concrete or mix to where it actually lasted more than triple the length of whatever it is that it cost, that it lasted regularly, right? So that you wouldn't have to spend more money to repair the roads, while at the same time, the cost was a lot more than what it took to actually do the roads initially, but it lasted longer and all of the different types of rebar and stuff. So I remember all of these research grants and these jobs and these opportunities largely buoy the entire city. Whatever respective city that you live in, or whatever respective city that these universities exist in, that is the industry. The industry is largely based around the university itself. So when you see a Harvard, that's why Boston is thriving regardless. And it's not that Boston runs its city so much greater, is that Boston has a conglomerate of major universities that is the most heralded in the world, that then buoy the city. And then ultimately that gives visibility, and that gives opportunity because they don't have a brain drain, while at the same time other industries can then surround itself around the universities because it's largely protected by the federal government until now. So now when you see these institutions of higher learning say, well, we're going to buck up against it, think about how many people are then impacted by you wanting to stand on diversity, equity, and inclusion, or an opportunity for a man to go inside of a woman's bathroom. You see what I'm saying? There's more than just, oh, they think that they tough. You know how many people are impacted because you want to go out there and protest? Now you up here facing a $2.9 billion budget shortfall. Then that's when you got to start tapping into your reserve funds or your funds that you have as far as a part of an endowment that kept tuition prices lower, or help to keep the university solvent and buoyed it so that it wouldn't be affected whenever you have pandemics or downturns. That is what that endowment does. It allows for you to invest the money so that it makes more money, and then it protects the university while at the same time benefiting the students so that you can come up with better budgets and then do things that are better on campus that'll improve the lives of people that want to go to these institutions of higher learning. And Harvard made the mistake of thinking that they can negotiate with somebody that wrote the art of the deal. And so immediately, in less than 24 hours after they rebuffed Trump, he poured $2.9 billion in funding. And guess what? He's able to do so because it's our taxpayer dollars that is being distributed by the federal government to then support these institutions that then teach your children that they can't think anything other than to be liberal, and that your liberal ways are the only ways that we need to go about doing things.
I'm really proud to see Harvard standing up to fight.
Well, you filed your lawsuit before we saw how Harvard was going to respond tonight. And essentially you were arguing that the threat to cut this funding violates free speech and other.
If y'all not sending this to your family and friends, if you're not sending this to all of your people, because more than just our political perspective, I like to inform people and give them some insight that's much deeper than what they give you on a surface level from traditional media outlets. We can deep dive. I can give you some insight. I can give you, more understanding as to why it is that this is so important and the industries that are affected. It's much deeper than just what's on the surface as far as the headlines that you see from these places. Come on, y'all. Let's get deeper and let's better understand so that we can leverage this information and then be able to have better conversations with people in real life. You need to be sending this to your family and friends. Hit a like for the algorithm, subscribe to the channel, and make sure you tap into the Patreon. Let's rock, man.
First Amendment rights here. Given Harvard is the first school that we've seen respond this way, how does that impact your lawsuit, and what does that mean for this going forward?
Well, I think the Trump administration's decision to cut $2.2 billion from Harvard tonight makes clear just how essential this lawsuit is and how critical this fight is, and why it's so important for Harvard and really every university in the country to take a stand at this critical moment, because this is a clear, unquestionable violation of First Amendment rights. You mentioned some of the demands that the administration has made of Harvard. It includes things like trying to appoint a federally named oversight.
Nope, they said a third party. Third party that go in and inspects and make sure that they abide by whatever it is that they're supposed to do.
Official to do an audit of every course, every department at Harvard to see if we have ideological balance to meet the Trump administration's test for what we teach and what we say at these universities. It's a transparent effort to change what is taught, what we say in our classrooms, what we teach our students, to make sure that the only things that are actually said on university campuses are things that the Trump administration wants to hear and wants to be said. This is a move that happens in countries across the world when there are efforts to try to make an authoritarian play in government. Institutions that are essential to civil society, like the press, like the courts, like the legal profession, and universities are the first to come under attack. And that's what we've been seeing over the first few weeks of this administration, with that attack on universities coming full and hard now. And this is the moment when it's so essential for those universities to take a stand. And if there's any university in the world that has the resources to do that and the moral leadership to do that, it's Harvard. And I'm proud to call myself a member of this faculty today.
And
so there you go. In a nutshell, that is what is happening on the campus of Harvard. I'm assuming that people that actually support HBCUs don't give a flying F about it because they like, listen, maybe we can start the lobby for more funding, and that's what y'all should be doing, to actually start the lobby for more research dollars to meet the expectations of whatever it is that these institutions are not meeting so that you can get the funding for yourself. Make sure y'all hit a like for the algorithm, subscribe to the channel, and turn on your notifications. Let me read some of these super chats, and then we'll continue on with the show. All right? Shout out to everybody that hold me down. Uncut Underground says, guess who's rolling back auto tariffs and guess who's canceling Boeing orders? We're going to talk about it shortly. I definitely have that a part of the show. Don't think that I'm not going to talk about it, and I have some things that I want to say. Shout out to Uncut. Abundance Mindset says, big dog, taking a step towards greatness every day. Man, what a time to be alive. This is going to be the greatest day of your life and going forward. Shout out to Abundance Mindset. I love it. A.R. Smitty, thank you for holding me down. Good morning, A.D. Ann Arbor has turned into Transylvania and the cross-dressed capital of Michigan, with Novi coming in at a close second. That's why I had to get my dog, Miss Solana, out of Novi. That's why I said, come on out of there, big dog. Come on down to the city and hang out with the rest of us. Terrence Jones says, good morning, AD. Did you see China requiring all of its citizens within the United States of America to report back any intel they have obtained? I haven't seen that. FPF SD says, if a college wants to be independent, don't take federal money, and the borrower is a slave to the lender. Facts. I agree. Tyler, what up, Tyler in the building, says, love the show. I'm eager to take advantage of the money that is out here. Wife and I make $90K, no debt, not far in our careers. Oh, man, you winning. Your ceiling is all the way up there. We only do 401k. Should we look for diverse investments or keep our heads down and keep grinding? Well, since y'all don't have no debt, the minimum that I would say that you should put into your 401k is what you can get matched. Usually that's about 5 to 6%. So take advantage of whatever the match is minimally, okay? The next thing that you should do is you should dollar cost average into your brokerage account, and then you can start to leverage the money as it accumulates into bigger investments. And we talk about that inside of the Patreon, all right? So keeping your heads down, continuing to invest in yourself in order to make more money. And that's the thing. Your biggest asset is you. So if you are the one that generate the most revenue, you want to invest in yourself, and then you also want to invest long-term because that's the way that you're going to get really rich. Shout out to Tyler. I love that, big dog. Congratulations to you and your girl. Danye says, I appreciate the game you give. Nobody like you in these spaces. Business and family, man. You are the standard. I will be there soon. I love it. What up, Elizabeth? Elizabeth says, nothing happening on Facebook, just usual messiness, AD. Okay, so don't log in. All right, I got you. I'm not logging into Facebook. I'm going to go to 4th year without logging in, and we're going to go from there. Make sure y'all hit a like. Make sure y'all hit a like for the algorithm. Subscribe to the channel and turn on your notifications. Let's pivot. Well, let me get Enforcer real quick. They act like the federal government didn't already take 2 years away from all of our lives through authoritarianism. Do what we tell you or else. Thank you, Enforcer 2K. 2K9 in the building. I appreciate you. Make sure y'all hit a like for the algorithm, subscribe to the channel, and turn on your notifications. J Dubs, I'm going to read that super chat shortly. Thank you for contributing into the platform. And for everybody that holds me down, make sure you hit a like for the algorithm. Let's rock out. All right, the second thing that I got on the docket today is exactly what you guys wanted me to tackle. Leapfrogging off of the conversation last night. Obviously, within the last 24 hours, he actually made bond. Additionally, over $400,000 has been raised for his defense, his legal defense. So let me give you all a little bit of updates on what's going on with Mr. Anthony. I know the real Karmelo Anthony with a C, the basketball player. I know he like, man, why his parents name him after me? I know that the real Karmelo Anthony is a little bit bothered and upset. Like, man, what I got to do with this? Why my name in it? Because anytime you put Karmelo Anthony into Google, obviously his is now being knocked down to the second. And this Karmelo Anthony is going up to the first because this is the thing that everybody is talking about. Anyways, let's deep dive into it, y'all.
Next, it has dropped to $250,000. Well, our colleague, Fox News multimedia reporter Sarah Allegre was inside the courtroom as this all went down. She joins me from Frisco, Texas, outside the courtroom live. And Sarah, thanks so much for being with us here. This story has garnered a lot of national attention. What more do we need to know?
Absolutely. And it's that national attention. It's played a big role when we're talking about the security and the safety of all parties, really, in this case. And that was something mentioned today. And you could see it, too, here just outside the Collin County Courthouse, inside the courtroom as well. There was a heightened security presence, additional law enforcement, at least more than usual. The judge even made it known that she had received several threatening phone calls ahead of the hearing and hasn't been under this kind of pressure, really, or seen a case reach this public scale in her 13 years of being on the bench. Another key thing that stood out a little bit earlier today was who took the witness stand. We did hear from Karmelo Anthony's father, the suspect in this case, and we got more of an idea of his son's character. He talked about Karmelo Anthony being a straight-A student, the captain of the football and track teams, and a church regular. Now, the defense says all that matters when it comes to bond. Also, that Anthony's not a flight risk and has strong community ties.
Bond, as the judge said, is not supposed to be an instrument of oppression. It's not supposed to keep people in jail. It's not supposed to punish. It's supposed to ensure that a person shows up to court, complies with all conditions, and it's supposed to keep the community safe. So this is a large and substantial bond, and the judge has, I think, rightly imposed reasonable conditions that will ensure both Karmelo and the Anthony family's safety, but also the safety of the community.
I don't have a problem with him being released out on bond so that he ultimately can prepare for and have a relative normal life until trial. Bond is not supposed to be a weapon against the people, right? He does not need to be held in jail. Bond is supposed to be for, or it's assessed based off of your flight risk, based off of your ability to actually appear in court, all of that. So, you know, I don't have any problem with him being able to get bond because it is a tool, right? So now that you have this bond, it is the possibility of you showing up to court. It's a greater possibility of showing up to court because you don't want to lose your bond, right? And so I don't have no problem with that. If they drop the bond down to $250,000, which I believe he probably had to pay 10%, I don't know if they required him to pay 100% of it. I know that in most cases you had to pay 10% of your bond. I'm not really that big of a jailbird, so I don't know anything about that. But I don't see any problem with him going home for bond. He doesn't seem like he's a flight risk. He doesn't live or exist in an environment where his parents is not going to ensure that, you know, they get the best representation and he attends court and stuff like that. So I don't know why people are so bent out of shape at the fact that he got bond. He still has to stand trial. He still has to face the consequences of his actions, whether he's guilty or innocent. That remains to be seen. But bond is not that big of an issue. And why are people so mad that he had to meet bond conditions, that he was able to get out of jail, and now they can prepare for his trial? Because I do believe that everybody deserves to go through the process of innocent until proven guilty in a court of law. And that's what he has to face. Now, I personally don't believe that he's going to go scot-free. However, I do not have a problem with them giving him bond and bail and then he ultimately getting out so that they can prepare for a trial. Why is people so bent out of shape of that? Anton, you is white. Well, BD, you can't talk. So you're one of the people that I had a conversation with about a couple weeks ago about your ability to read. You don't even know how. Your name is BD. You said Anton, you is white. It's Anton, you are white. A-R-E. And not just the letter R, A-R-E. So I'm not offended by illiterate people that can't read past the 3rd grade level. I'm not offended at that. I think you needs to get some help. I think it's important for you to go get hooked on phonics. And I don't even think you have the ability to teach yourself how to read. I think you need a tutor. You need to re-enroll at your local church and then sit in with all of the little kids so that they can teach you your letters, your alphabet, how to count on your hands, your ABCs, and then how to enunciate your words correctly. All right. So listen, you got bigger problems to worry about whether or not you think that I'm white or not. You have bigger problems. Listen, BD, you have bigger problems on your plate. On your docket, the first thing that you got to do is you got to make sure that you brush your teeth in the morning, pray for deliverance from the devil from keeping you from being able to read, work on your stuttering, and then go and enroll in your local church. And don't worry about the kids laughing at you, big dog, because you trying to get something done. Even if the kids snicker at you and they go, look at him, look at that 40-year-old man that lives in his mother's basement still trying to learn how to read. Overcome that. Overcome that. You don't focus so much on where you at. Focus on where you going. We got to get you to the 4th grade, the 5th grade, the 6th grade, 7th grade, 8th grade, 9th grade, 10th grade, 11th grade, 12th grade, and then hopefully you are a full adult, then you know how to read, and then you can fill out your applications, and then you can put the fries in the bag. Put the fries in the bag, big dog. You don't even worry about racism. That's not your fight. Your fight is someone and learning the difference between there, and there. There, and there. But that's 8th, 9th grade level. We got to get you to 2nd, 3rd, 4th, 5th grade level. So don't worry about that, all right? At least if you're going to insult me, learn how to communicate effectively. Let's continue on with the show.
Like this.
Prosecutors argue the bond should stay at $1 million for a number of reasons. They first pointed out the severity of this case, but also pointed to that fundraiser that raised over $400,000 in legal costs for Anthony's family. But the judge disagreed here. She settled on house arrest with an ankle monitor, again that reduced bond, and a weekly phone check-in with a bailiff.
Made the call, and so what's important is what's next. Briscoe PD will be finishing up their investigation. They will submit the case to my office. We will review it and ultimately present it to a grand jury. And so that's what's next.
Anthony's accused of stabbing 17-year-old Austin Metcalf at a track meet between their schools. Witnesses say the two got into a fight over seating, that Metcalf pushed Anthony, and that's when Anthony pulled a knife from his bag and stabbed him in the heart. Metcalf died in his twin brother's arms, and court records say Anthony admitted to the stabbing and asked officers if this could count as self-defense. And both Karmelo Anthony's parents, along with Austin Metcalf's parents, were both inside the courtroom earlier this morning. As you can imagine, both parties, both quiet and somber. Andrew?
So he is out. He is released. His parents has not necessarily put out a statement. They're not talking to the media. Smart. I actually give him a lot of credit for that. But I want to share something with you guys really quickly because this is important for us to talk about. And I was trying to deep dive a little bit more. You can't always get the details in, just looking at whatever it is that they say on the media because they're trying to hurry up and get the content out as fast as possible. But I was looking at it and I was looking at all of the details and where all of the money was going because they raised over $400,000. Actually over $430,000 as of today to make sure that they better understand exactly how they can fund all of his legal fees and everything like that. Because I'm pretty sure that they'll be substantial. And so I pulled this up And this is exactly how it went and how the money is being spent, okay? They say the family of the teen accused of stabbing a student athlete to death at a track meet plans to shell out on a new home and security to protect the alleged murderer after he was released from jail. Karmelo Anthony walked out of jail silently, surrounded by his family on Monday, who posted his $250,000 bond after a judge agreed to lower it from $1 million. Goes on to say that he is charged with fatally stabbing 17-year-old Austin Metcalf in the stands at a track meet on April 2nd. He is now on house arrest where he'll be required to wear an ankle monitor and stay inside of his parents' home. Over $420,000 has been donated to Anthony's family in an online fundraiser for the alleged killer after he reportedly faced racist threats following Metcalf's murder. Hey, BD, before I go into this a little bit more, are you jealous that I'm able to read the whole sentence without stuttering or getting into trouble? That I'm able to pronounce words that have more than 2 syllables? Do you know what 2 syllables are? I know people that see people that can read that's aggravated, that they can't insult them, and that they not feeling some type of way as a result of your insults. They upset when you start reading a little too fast, and then you stop mid-sentence in order to give some context, and then you can start right back off where I was and then start back reading again. It's crazy, ain't it? Yeah. Hey, all of y'all that they mad at, just remember this. The only thing you got to do is not get upset at the insults. Don't reduce yourself to throwing doo-doo. Don't reduce yourself to throwing doo-doo. What does that mean? That is something that I came up with as I was growing up, right? And I've always told myself, don't throw doo-doo. You know what that means? That's what the big old monkeys and the apes do when they get mad at people. They take a dump on the ground and they grab it from their booty and then they throw it at the other apes, or they throw it at the other monkeys, or they throw it at the tourists when they get mad at them. It's a low IQ move is what I'm saying. Don't be low IQ. Don't reduce yourself to play in the pig pen with the rest of the people in the mud. Don't throw doo-doo. That's my word for you today. No doo-doo. Just read. Just read to them. You start reading real fast, and they start getting confused, and they just walk away frustrated. Nothing is more angering to a person than to be intellectual, and they can't compete with that. Just ask them, what does that sign say up there? But always point to the sign or the street that don't have any emojis on it, or it doesn't have any images on it, so that they can't try to use their context clues to know what it don't have no colors. It don't have none of that stuff. So they can't use colors or images or icons or iconography to tell you what it is that it say. Hey, what does that say? And it don't have no shape on it. It's just a sign with words. That's how they've been getting through life. Using colors. Oh, red means stop. Green means go. Using the shape of the stop sign to know that they should stop. Combining 2 things is red and it's shaped like that. That's how they've been getting through life. Iconography. That's why when we developed these applications for these iPhones, that's why we moved from the hamburger menu up in the left-hand corner and we start putting images at the bottom of the page so that you'll know, oh, this means home. Oh, this is explore. And then we put the words and the images together so that you can try to sound it out. Home. Home. Not homie. Home. All you got to do is read fast and they're going to get frustrated and leave. Let's continue. During the judge's ruling on Monday, prosecutors asked Anthony's dad why he couldn't use the money, the donated money to pay the original bond to release his son from jail. And so basically they was telling them to pay, I believe it was 10%, 10% of whatever the million is, but his lawyer argued for a lower bond so that they can pay a lower amount and then be able to allocate the money towards whatever they wanted to. And Andrew Anthony responded that the money was going to be used for his son's legal defense. So all of the GoFundMe money that is donated to them is going to be used, and they're allocating how they're going to use it. Here's how they're breaking it down. Legal defense, he also said the cash will be used for security to protect him after he reportedly received racist threats since the stabbing. And the family also plans to move into a new house for extra safety. Congratulations, y'all. Listen, there's nothing like being rewarded for a new home when your child is out there doing something that they probably not supposed to do and they getting into something that they shouldn't be getting into. Nothing like getting a new home for safety and security. So that is what the father said during the court hearing. Hey, why didn't you use the GoFundMe money in order to make sure that they made bond? Well, Judge, we didn't want to spend it on all of that. Well, what are you spending it on? Well, we want to spend it on legal defense, and we want to make sure that he gets security because he received some racist threats online. And we got to get a new house so that we can make sure that we get out the way. And we got to get a new house. That's what it says. It's highlighted right there. Andrew also said, who was the father, the family plans to move into a new house for extra safety. If it's a lie, they told it. If it's a lie, they told it. So, as usual, I'll keep you guys updated. I'll let you know what's going on behind the scenes. I'm going to keep you guys informed. Stop abusing the handicap. I'm going to keep you guys informed on what's going on in these streets. Make sure you hit a like for the algorithm, subscribe to the channel, and turn on, listen, don't get mad at me. We'll talk about it on After Hours. We'll talk. Make sure y'all tune in to After Hours tonight. It's going to be an incredible live stream. I got some great subjects lined up, and I'm going to keep carry on point, all right? Make sure y'all hit a like for the algorithm, subscribe to the channel, and turn on your notifications. Let me read some of these super chats. Let me double check something real quick just to make sure I get everybody. I don't want nobody to be left behind. I always got to acknowledge the people that support the platform. Shout out to Chef G Rap. Says, how can a captain of the team be bullied? Well, we're going to talk about it. We're going to talk about it. BD don't rush them choppers. BD don't brush them choppers regularly. BD, why they going off on you inside of the chat, big dog? Why they going off on you inside of the chat? J-Dub says, having a third party independently look at how taxpayer money is being used is fair game. Why is there any resistance? I would do the same to any agency taking federal dollars. Facts. I agree with you. Courtney Egger Show says, yo, the show was dope last night. I appreciate y'all for having me on. Shout out to my dog, Courtney Egger, in the building. We got to get you back on there, bro. Janice says, hey, Anton, my boyfriend loves your show. He's a UPS driver making more than 170 bands a year. Annually, and a restaurant franchisee. YouTube channel, 600 subscribers, affiliated TikTok and Amazon. Any advice for him? Keep going. But make sure that he continues to pour into the other things that is going to allow for him to be successful. A lot of times, what people do when they start making an exceptional amount of money is that they start to rest on it and they start to bring up their lifestyle to meet whatever their income is. Tell him to stay regular. Stay down. Don't buy nothing. Make sure he pay off all of his debt. Don't do anything except for continue to put his money into the things that's going to make him more money. Stay down for 10 years. He'll never have to. He may want to, but he'll never have to work again a day in his life if he just stay all the way down. Don't jump out the window. Don't start buying big cars. Stay focused for 10 years straight. Run it up, hustle, get to the bag, and stay focused 100%. And do not, under any circumstances, do not start splurging and doing things that's out of character. He'll be able to live the rest of his life the way that he wants to if he take care of business. Shout out to him. And you better hold on. You better hope. Wait a minute. You said your boyfriend. Why y'all like, you ain't married him yet? You ain't got him to tie the knot to you yet? Girl, if you don't get married, ASAP, get married. Have him marry you. Don't hear that part of the show. You got to make sure that he marry you because you don't want him to go ahead and level up without you. And you better be being quiet and being submissive. And don't put yourself at a disadvantage by being cantankerous. I can already tell you a good woman because you super chatting to get some more insight on how he should do things differently. Make sure that you are submissive, that you do what you're supposed to do, take care of business, and get married. Get married. Did you hear what I said, Janice? That one was for you. Gas Guys, and shout out to the Gas Guys in the building, says, love the consistent content. We hear it every single weekday. Gas Guys, thank you for the 100 ball. Thank you for always holding me down. I super appreciate you. Billy said, because if the white man, it's only one white man, y'all. If the white man was the killer, they would if gave him bail and already condemned him, saying he is a killer. Maches, riots, looting everywhere. All right. Thank you, Billy. I appreciate you. Thank you for holding me down. Gas Guys came bag to bag. You're a breath of fresh air. Too many in our community equate black with broke, mediocrity, and victimhood. Thank you, Gas Guys. I appreciate you, bro. You came bag to bag. A.R. Smitty in the building says, just throw it in the bag. We believe in you, bro. Get the fries in the bag, E.B. Easy, or whatever your name was. Mr. Youngblood City, shout out to you. Thank you for the 20 bucks. Says, just saying what up. I'm still a bag chaser. Just bought a house. Business is going good. Thank you. Let's get this money. We're going to continue to run it up. Make sure y'all tap into the Patreon. Anton, you got a petty demon on your back. Library Day with Anton. That's what the new channel was going to be. Mark the Guardian says, where's Jasmine Crockett in this case? It is Texas. You know she ain't got nothing to say because she don't want to upset her constituents. Denise, what up, D? Says, this is a sad situation. 2 teens lost their life that day. One with the intent on taking one and one with the idea, no idea that he would lose his. Agreed. It is a sad situation. He has to clap for the syllables. Syllables. I like that, Chris. Shout out to my dog, Chris. Thank you to everybody that continues to contribute into the platform. I appreciate you. I love you. Let's pivot. Let's talk about Trump. All right. We got to get into the Trump content. So I don't want to just have this conversation in the vacuum. I actually want to have this conversation and tell you what happened. Caitlin Collins, who is a CNN reporter and regularly on CNN, largely makes Trump's life a little bit more difficult than it has to be. Obviously was as a part of the press corps inside of the White House, and she was asking, I guess, crazy questions. And Trump, who is himself no stranger to controversy, decided that he wanted to deal with it accordingly. And so he wound up calling her a low-grade reporter. And this is why he was hosting the El Salvador president inside of the White House. And I'm assuming that they was talking about, because I haven't seen this yet, but I'm assuming that they were talking about the migrant that was deported over to El Salvador that is not going to be sent back to the United States of America. Check it out.
Let's hear the question from this very low-rated anchor at CB.
Thank you, President. Do you plan to ask President Bukele to help return?
Listen, I agree that it is a low-rated anchor over at CNN, and her name is Caitlin Collins. No issue with that whatsoever. 100%. However, I do get a little bit weirded out, and it makes it difficult for me to start to defend some of the rhetoric, because I just like the fact that he says what he says and he stands on it. I get weirded out when people say stuff like, well, Jasmine Crockett was wrong for calling Greg Abbott Governor Hot Wheels, or, you know, somebody else says, oh man, I don't like Trump, or whatever, so on and so forth. I thought that this was the land of freedom, that we could have freedom of speech and we could communicate exactly what our thoughts are so that we can see things clearly. He called her low-rated. He often at times says all kind of stuff about people, and I be agreeing with it. I'm like, yeah, that is true. I like the fact that he called it out. But then objectively speaking, people then get mad at other people that's not a part of the Republican Party, then saying things about people that are a part of the Republican Party. I think it all goes in love and war. Shout out to my dog Chris. I appreciate you, Chris Bossy. Hey, Chris got a dope channel. He is one of the best barbers that I've ever seen in my entire life. Make sure y'all follow him on Instagram. Make sure y'all follow his YouTube channel. Phenomenal. This dude give great content. I love you, Chris. Shout out to you, big dog. But I don't understand how people get affected, or they don't think that it's fair game for you to be able to criticize other people and then them not be able to criticize you also.
The man who your administration says was mistakenly
Which one is
deported.
it?
The man who was mistakenly deported to El Salvador.
Well, let me ask Pam, would you answer that question?
Sure, President. First and foremost, he was illegally in our country. He had been illegally in our country. And in 2019, two courts, an immigration court and an appellate immigration court, ruled that he was a member of MS-13 and he was illegally in our country. Right now, it was additional paperwork had needed to be done. That's up to El Salvador if they want to return him. That's not up to us. The Supreme Court ruled, President, that if, as El Salvador wants to return him, this is international matters, foreign affairs, if they wanted to return him, we would facilitate it, meaning provide a plane.
So will you return him?
And you are doing a great job. Thank you.
Thank
Wait a minute. Can you just also respond to that question? Because, it's asked by CNN, and they always ask it with a slant because they're totally slanted because they don't know what's happening. That's why nobody's watching them. But would you answer that question also?
Yes, gladly. So, as Pam mentioned, there's an illegal alien from El Salvador. So, with respect to you, he's a citizen of El Salvador. So, it's very arrogant even for American media to suggest that we would even tell El Salvador how to handle their own citizens as a starting point. As two immigration courts found that he was a member of MS-13. When President Trump declared MS-13 to be a foreign terrorist organization, that meant that he was no longer eligible under federal law, which I'm sure you know, you're very familiar with the INA, that he was no longer eligible for any form of immigration relief in the United States. So he had a deportation order that was valid, which meant that under our law, he's not even allowed to be present in the United States and had to be returned because of the foreign terrorist designation. This issue was then, by a district court judge, completely inverted, and a district court judge tried to tell the administration that they had to kidnap a citizen of El Salvador and fly him back here. That issue was raised with the Supreme Court, and the Supreme Court said the district court order was unlawful and its main components were reversed 9-0 unanimously, stating clearly that neither Secretary of State nor the President could be compelled by anybody to forcibly retrieve a citizen of El Salvador from El Salvador, who again is a member of MS-13, which, as I'm sure you understand, rapes little girls, murders women, murders children, is engaged in the most barbaric activities in the world, and I can promise you, if he was your neighbor, you would move right away.
So you don't plan to
But the
ask for
Supreme
anything
Court's
to get
asking
him back?
to. And
that-
what was the ruling in the Supreme Court, Steve? Was it 9-0?
Yes, it was a 9-0
in our favor.
In our favor, against the district court ruling, saying that no district court has the power to compel the foreign policy function of the United States. As Pam said, the ruling solely stated that if this individual, at El Salvador's sole discretion, was sent back to our country, that we could deport him a second time.
Well,
No version of this legally ends up with him ever living here because he is a citizen of El Salvador. That is the president of El Salvador. Your questions about it, per the court, can only be directed to him.
I asked
Se lo
President
liberaría,
what is
Presidente
your, can President Bukele weigh in on this? Do you plan to return him?
Well, I'm supposed to not suggesting that I smuggle terrorists into the United States.
Well, hold on. Let's explore this a little bit. So, number one, you have to give Caitlin Collins credit, all right? You got to give her credit. And the reason that you have to give her credit, and the reason why I actually have to say, hey, listen, kudos to her, is because even though CNN is slanted, and even though she works for a slanted organization, and even though she may not be as good as a reporter as I believe a reporter should be, The fact that she doesn't get easily offended and continues to ask the questions and have the conversation despite the fact that she just got called out by this Trump administration, I have to give her credit for that. At the very least, it takes balls to get up every single day and not have any kind of offended, oh, I'm not offended, I'm not tripping about it. Hey, listen, I'm going to still ask the question, whatever. Yeah, she may be a trash reporter, but you got to give her credit because she's not offended and she's going to continue to ask the questions, even though Trump may not necessarily like her. Now, the other side of it is because there's so many people that get easily offended at everything that everybody says online. I can appreciate when people can take their L's. Now, what's up, Lurk Lord? The other part of it is the media was trying to spin this because I was not familiar with everything about it, and I always like to reserve my opinion so that I can objectively observe and see what's going on and get the full context and let all of them decide or explain exactly what's happening. The media tried to spin it like he was a good person, or the headlines was leading with the fact, oh man, they mistakenly deported a person that was supposed to be here in the United States of America. They never stated that the courts had already designated this person as a part of MS-13. They never stated all of the other details that indicated that the person was supposed to be deported. And even if they came back here, because of the way that they had been operating and the stuff that they had did inside of the United States of America, that they would already still be deported regardless, or the United States of America had the ability to deport them again, that it was all just a little bit of a paperwork issue. So the person is not supposed to be here. They're the worst person that's here. They're a part of MS-13 gang. A judge and several different judges had already designated them as a part of that. First thing we have to ask ourselves is, why wasn't this person deported a long time ago? The second thing that we have to ask ourselves is, why are we fighting for people that we wouldn't want to be our neighbors to be inside of the United States of America? Why are we fighting for people to be here inside of the United States of America that we would not want to be our neighbors? Why are people that are liberal so desperate to have people over here that is the worst for society of all time? I don't understand it. That is so weird to me. Y'all not weirded out at that? Like when you talk to your liberal friends, for all of you liberals that's inside of the chat that's watching the show right now, when y'all talk to y'all liberal friends and y'all ask them, or y'all get posed with the question and they say, hey, listen, why do you want to do this, or why do you support the liberal parties? And then somebody that's on the opposing side say, well, what about all the illegal migrants that come into the state or to the cities, or that navigated over here, or Lake and Riley or anything like that? I asked one of those street protesters a couple weeks ago, I said, well, what about Lake and Riley? What about the illegal migrants that came over here, and then the one that killed Lake and Riley and all of those type of people? And you know what they say? Nothing. Shh. Then all of their friends hurry up and grab them. Hey, don't talk to him. Hey, don't talk to him. And then they'll come over and say, well, why are you recording? And you're the same reason you are. Because this is well, don't record me. This is a public space. We record all interactions because, and then they say, well, why are you though? You can, but why are you? I said, because I want to. Well, for your little bit of because they don't know who you are. Well, for your little 13 followers that you have on whatever platform you got it, they're not going to care. You're just looking to go viral. And I say, I'm going to make you famous. But again, nobody can answer me that question. Illegal immigrants inside of the United States of America making things difficult for traditional citizens should not be an issue that is dividing us on a Republican and Democrat side. I think that we got other things that we need to fight about. We shouldn't be fighting about people that's not even supposed to be here taking up our resources. That's the issue for me.
How can I return him to the United States? Like, I smuggle him into the United States, or what do I do? Of course, I'm not going to do it. It's like, I mean, the question is preposterous. How
This
can
dude
I
look like a boss on
smuggle a
GTA
terrorist
5.
into the United States? I don't have the power to return him to the United States.
But you can release him inside El Salvador.
Yeah, but I'm not releasing. I mean, we're not very fond of releasing terrorists into our country. I mean, we just turned the murder capital of the world into the safest country of the Western Hemisphere, and you want us to go back into the releasing criminals so we can go back to being the murder capital of the world? No, that's not going to happen.
Well, they'd love to have a criminal, released into
I mean, there's a fascination.
They would love it.
Yeah.
They're sick. These are sick people. Marco, do you have something to say about
Yeah, I mean, Stephen outlined it. I don't understand what the confusion is. This individual is a citizen of El Salvador. He was illegally in the United States and was returned to his country. That's where you deport people, back to their country of origin, except for Venezuela that wasn't refusing to take people back, or places like that. I can tell you this, Mr. President. No, the foreign policy of the United States is conducted by the President of the United States, not by a court. And no court in the United States has a right to conduct the foreign policy of the United States. It's that simple. End of story.
And that's what the Supreme Court held, by the way, to Marco's point. The Supreme Court said exactly what Marco said, that no court has the authority to compel the foreign policy function of the United States. We won a case 9-0, and people like CNN are portraying it as a loss, as usual, because they want foreign terrorists in the country who kidnap women and children. But President Trump, his policy is foreign terrorists that are here illegally get expelled from the country, which, by the way, is a 90-10 issue.
Well, Mr. President, you said that if the Supreme Court said someone needed to be returned, that you would abide by that. You said that on Air Force One just a few days ago. And they said that it must be facilitated.
Why don't you just say, isn't it wonderful that we're keeping criminals out of our country? Why can't you just say that? Why do you go over and over? And that's why nobody watches you anymore. You have no credibility. Please, go ahead.
President Trump, thank you so much.
Oh my God. We got the realest president of all time. We have the realest president of all time. Caitlin Collins is catching hell up in that White House. It don't get no realer than that. And again, I think that it's a logical issue. Like, why are you pressing an issue of a person that shouldn't be here? And why are y'all so dedicated to trying to get them here inside of the United States of America? Why do y'all care so much? Boggles my mind also. Again, make sure you guys hit a like for the algorithm. Well, let me see a little bit more. I want to see if there's anything else.
How many illegal criminals are you planning on exporting to El Salvador? And President Bukele, how many are you willing to take from the U.S.?
As many as possible. And I just asked the president, it's this massive complex that he built, jail complex. I said, can you build some more of them, please? As many as we can get out of our country that were allowed in here by incompetent Joe Biden through open borders. Open borders. You probably hear open borders and you can't even understand it because nobody can understand it. Nobody smart or with common sense can understand it. So we have millions of people that should not be in this country that are dangerous, not just people, because we have people, but we have millions of people that are murderers, drug dealers. They've been allowed to come into our country by other countries that were very smart. When they heard that this very low IQ president, and by the way, I took my cognitive exam as part of my physical exam, and I got the highest mark, and one of the doctors said, sir, I've never seen anybody get that kind of, that was the highest mark. I hope you're happy with that, although they haven't been bugging me too much to take a cognitive, but I did do my physical and it was released. I hope you're all happy with it. I notice there's no question, so probably you are. But the cognitive, they said to me, sir, would you like to take a cognitive test? I said, did Biden take one? No. Did anybody take one? No, not too many people took them. I said, what about Obama? Did he take one? No, he didn't take one either. I said, let me be the only one to take one. But I've actually taken them 3 times already. I like taking them because they're not too tough for me to take. But we had a great physical exam, so I know you're going to ask that. And the doctors who are total professionals, Walter Reed Medical Center, they're great people. And I visited a soldier that was badly wounded, incredible soldier, lost his leg. And
I'm taking the same page out of Trump's book. I'm about to self-promote so much. I am going to self-promote listen, if it works for him, it got to work for me.
Really a very great thing. They do a phenomenal job. I just want to say, Walter Reed, I was there for, 5-6 hours. You were there with me. But I took a full physical, and it came out perfecto, so that's good. And she got me for a little longer.
Shout out to Trump. Very entertaining, very engaging, while at the same time taking care of business on America's forefront. And holding Caitlin Collins accountable for her dumb questions. Make sure y'all hit a like for the algorithm, subscribe to the channel, and turn on your notifications. Let me read some of these super chats, and then we're going to go on from there. Chadford Morris in the building. Shout out to Chadford. Chadford says, is it me, or does it look like the El Salvador president was laughing at the media for the ignorance on immigration policies? I think that a lot of people probably are looking at us laughing at how our liberal left people are advocating for people that are the worst people on earth and criminals to be inside of the United States of America. They have to be laughing. Have to be laughing. Smooth Artist says, so I guess it's okay for me to delete whites and claim self-defense since I'm black. Awesome. Go ahead and try it and see what happens. Go ahead and try it, Clevis, and see what happens. Again, make sure I hit a like for the algorithm, subscribe to the channel, and turn on your notifications. Well, you know what? I don't even know if I want to. Yeah, let's go into this one. So I actually had allocated this story for yesterday because I wanted to spend 10 minutes on it talking about it. But recently Trump, and you know, Michigan is a state that I'm residing in, and so I feel some type of way about Governor Gretchen Whitmer because I think that she is trash, and I am not a fan of her, and I hate the fact that they tried to make her hip and try to invite her to the barbecue, and they put a bunch of buffs on her and buff glasses. Did y'all ever see that when they gave her some Cartier glasses? Let me see if I can pull that up. Let me see if I can get that popping. Y'all never seen that before? They gave her a nickname and they called her Big Gretch. Big Gretch. Y'all never seen that before? And she came in with her Cardis, and y'all never said nothing about her misappropriating the culture. I wonder why. Oh, because she's a liberal and because she was friends with Kamala Harris. Yeah, she came in like this because they gave her some Cardis and they said, yo, you Big Gretch. I love the fact that you wearing Cardis out here. You now Big Gretch. And nobody said anything. Everybody was just cool with it. And nobody had anything to say as a result of her. But I will tell you, personally, I think that she is trash. Absolute trash. 100%. Anyways, she made her way over to the White House to beg Trump and to negotiate with Trump. And I'm okay with that. That's one of the first things that I actually agree with her on, is that we have to put away our disagreement so we can work on the behalf of the people. So we can work very, very hard on behalf of the people. And so she pulled up to the White House, our Michigan governor, and Trump highlighted her and he said, yep. And the Michigan governor came through and she's here to, you know, have a conversation with us and make sure that she's trying to save the Great Lakes and working on behalf of the great fish in the Michigan area. And this is what happened.
Welcome back to America Decides. Thanks for hanging out with us. It is rare, I think you'd acknowledge, for President Trump to praise a Democrat, especially in public. But during an Oval Office visit yesterday, he called Michigan Governor Gretchen Whitmer a, quote, very good person who has done a, quote, excellent job. Earlier in the day, though, the governor, that is to say Governor Whitmer, wasn't so generous about the president's approach to tariffs.
I'm not against tariffs outright, but it is a blunt tool. You can't just pull out the tariff hammer to swing at every problem without a clear, defined end goal.
I want to bring in our political panel. Ophira Yeheskel is Director of External Affairs for the Democratic Governors Association. I'm glad to have you here. Kevin Sheridan, back again, but probably only after he heard about the tariff pause. Former spokesman for the Republican National Committee and once a senior advisor for the long-departed Romney-Ryan 2012 presidential campaign. Kevin, good to see you.
Good to see you.
Picking up on the pause.
Yeah.
How much do you think that factored into Republican calculations, specifically in the House, to get the budget resolution passed and know that they're going to have this breathing room where there's no tariff uncertainty while they deal with the hard realities of trying to write that bill?
Yeah, I don't know that the pause necessarily was the catalyst for it, passing the
Didn't
House
hurt, though.
today, but it doesn't hurt. It gives everybody a little bit of breathing room and gives the stock market a little bit more confidence, although it went down again today a little bit.
Didn't look very confident today, especially when the Dow was down 2,100.
Yeah, so look, Republicans are going to have to get this passed. I think this, as soon as possible. Their entire legislative agenda and his
but you know as well as I
agenda
do,
weighs on it.
They don't want to have to answer two hard questions at the same time, because there are going to be hard questions about the reconciliation bill, and they didn't want to deal with hard questions about tariffs and the volatility it was causing. They're going to be spared that for 90 days. That's got to be a relief to them.
So essentially, Gretchen Whitmer went over to the White House and she flew over to D.C. in order to do some business with Trump, and then she started to become public enemy number one from the Democrat Party. Now, I got a couple thoughts about this, but this is what wound up happening as a result of it.
Now, let's talk about more serious stuff. The president of El Salvador, Nayib Bukele, is in the U.S. El Salvador is housing in its mega prisons a number of gangbangers in the U.S. illegally. Tell me about the relationship he has with the Trump administration.
Well, the president of El Salvador is similar to Donald Trump in that he's no nonsense and he wants to get rid of all the gangbangers, not only in his country, but here in America. He wants to kind of be like a private prison, third-party system where we can put a lot of these Trinidad Arugas or MS-13 gangbangers. We can just send them down to El Salvador and we can pay them to house them. So, I love the idea of outsourcing our prisons to El Salvador. So this meeting, it could spell trouble for the cartels and the organized crime that is, causing a lot of problems here in America.
I got to tell you, this guy is one of the most popular leaders anywhere in the world. He was re-elected with such an enormous margin, and he has turned El Salvador from one of the most crime-riddled hellholes anywhere in the world to a safe country, and he's done it in with such speed. It really is a remarkable feat, but the media hates him too, so he never gets any credit for any of that. Also in the White House in recent days, Alex, has been the governor of Michigan, Governor Gretchen Whitmer. She's got ambitions of being the 2028 Democrat presidential candidate. But tell me about this performance here, Alex, trying to hide her face during a meeting with President Donald Trump in the Oval Office. I mean, it just looks juvenile.
Look how silly
Governor
she looks.
Whitmer is.
Look how silly she looks, trying to hide her face, even though she's at the Oval Office. If I'm her, or if I'm a part of her team, or if I'm part of any of the people that's surrounding this woman, I'm saying, hey, embrace it. Show that you're willing to work with other people, or you're willing to work with other retailers, and that way you're actually doing a thing that's on the behalf or on the best, for the best interest of the Michigan people. That, yeah, my allegiance is to the people that's in my state, and I need to do whatever it takes in order to make sure that my people are taken care of. I'm going to be the best governor possible because I was elected by the people in Michigan to take care of people in Michigan. That's what I'm going to do. Why would you do that? Why would you do this like the camera is going to go away and it's not going to take a picture of you and then you're going to be looking even more stupid than before? This is how dumb our governor is, y'all. I just want y'all to see this. This is what we deal with inside of Michigan, and I know each and every individual state got its own problems. But this is some of the nonsense that we deal with. Real talk. This is the dumbest thing that I've ever seen in my entire life. Look at her inside of the Oval Office. Why would she be doing this? And of course, now she's getting it from both sides because the liberals is going off on her and they saying, why would she even be in there inside of the Oval Office in the first place? And obviously, she probably wants to become the presidential candidate of the United States of America. That's her next step, is to advocate for becoming the president of the United States of America. That's one of the reasons why she cozied up next to Biden. She cozied up next to Kamala Harris because she wanted to be next in line. And then the Republicans is looking at her like, you so dumb. Why you got that covering up your face and we already got you on camera inside of the Oval Office?
is the biggest embarrassment when it comes to not just only her state, but when Michigan was locked down, her husband got caught taking their boat down to the boat dock when everybody else was shut down.
Yep.
When it comes to Whitmer, like, she did that weird, publicity stunt where she fed the girl the milk and the Doritos chips. So she's not one to shy away from having her face in front of a camera. So for her to do this is just another political stunt, an embarrassment. And it shows you a politician that doesn't want to try to reach across the aisle to try to get things done for her constituents. Instead, she hides her face because she's ashamed and she's a coward of who she really is.
Well, I remember back in the height of the COVID era.
It was so bad here in Michigan. That's when I actually moved to Florida because I wanted to make sure that we had the freedom to move around. It was a lot of people in Michigan and a lot of business owners that actually suffered under the advice and under the lockdowns of Gretchen Whitmer. I remember it was a guy that actually opened up his barbershop. Yeah, we just going to keep on rocking. I know that it was a little bit delayed and all of that stuff, but we good. I remember that it was a guy that had barbershops. It was like 80 and 90-year-old and 70-year-old people that had businesses. It was one guy that had a barbershop that, he was getting arrested, and they actually had bolted up the doors to prevent him from being able to open up his barbershop to continue to make money, and he needed money to survive. And nobody gave him any recourse. Nobody gave him anything as a result of it. And so they locked this entire state down. I wound up flying over to Florida, and I wound up staying there for like 3 or 4 months. And Florida, it wasn't completely open in that you didn't have to wear a mask in some places. But business was booming as usual. The economy was still humming. People were still rocking. I heard that Texas was still open. Was Texas still open during a lot of the pandemic at the time that I was in Florida? Yeah, so I made the adjustment and I got the heck up out of there. So shout out to Gretchen Whitmer for continuing to embarrass herself. Thank God that we have term limits here in Michigan. And I don't think she would have got voted in again anyway. But thank God that we got term limits in here in Michigan. And we actually getting up out of her. Make sure y'all hit a like for the algorithm, subscribe to the channel, and turn on your notifications. Crazy governor out here in these streets running wild. I appreciate everybody that continues to pour to the flat platform. Shout out to Mr. Lot, says she was just pouring up with Cam. How quickly time flies. Shout out to the Gas God, says I love the consistent content. I appreciate you. Shout out to Rich Rogers, says this show is fire as always. Thank you, Rich Rogers. I appreciate y'all. Thank you to everybody that contributed into the platform. Make sure you hit a like for the algorithm, subscribe to the channel, and turn on your notifications. All right, y'all. Let's get into hyperdrive. Let's get into the next part of the show. All right. I want to talk about tariffs. All right. Got to give y'all an update because I know that a lot of people feeling some type of way. The next 3 things that we're going to talk about is Chinese tariffs. What exactly do they want? I want to go into luxury retailers, right? Being exposed by Chinese suppliers because they are pissed that they are no longer able to ship over here. And it's a lot of factories that's being shut down and a lot of places that's being shut down over in China. And then I want to go into different industries, right? The steel industry, steel workers are happy that tariffs in place. On the flip side, General Motors and Stellantis are now laying off workers temporarily because they have to adjust for what's going on because they've been making so many of their parts outside of the United States of America. So we're going to cover all those things. Make sure you buckle up, Buttercup. Make sure you hit a like for the algorithm, subscribe to the channel, and turn on your notifications. Also, Tiege Hanley, 40% off your first order plus 20% off for life. And then last but not least, make sure you guys tap into the Patreon. Link is in the description as well as pinned to the top of the chat. Let's get it.
To prevent decoupling, both sides need to talk.
Right.
What will it take to bring President Xi Jinping to the negotiating table?
China always said we keep open for negotiation.
Now, listen, guys, listen. We're going to get through this segment. I didn't know that this was what I was getting myself into. Those that know me know where I'm about to go with this. I love you. I love my Chinese people. I love my Asians. I love my people. I love it. My chat know me so well. Listen, I said that I was going to make a concerted effort to start studying and learning Spanish because I want to broaden, my ability to really relate to certain cultures. But I am an American. I don't speak English. I speak American. All right? I don't want to know what he talking about. I don't know. What? What'd you say? And then he got the stiff neck. Asians, they be part of the Room 9 class sometimes. All Asians ain't smart. All Asians don't know multiple different languages. Some of them know it, but some of them got passed with a D. They just so happen to graduate and they got passed with a D. All Asians ain't good at math, all right? That's a big myth. That is a misconception. And so sometimes their English is a little bit broken. I don't know what you said. What did you say? Come on, man. Help me out here. Help me out. You know how it's so hard to understand somebody that you start squinting your eyes like that's going what? Why do people squint their eyes when they trying to figure out what other people are saying? I do that all the time. Like if I can't hear somebody, I say, what? Dog, that's you trying to squint to see them better is not going to make their, what they're communicating more effective for you. Like you're not going to hear them better. What'd you say? What'd you say? Is this what we dealing with? We gonna win this tariff war. If this is what we dealing with, we gonna win this tariff war. I guarantee you. We gonna win this tariff war. No doubt about it. No doubt in my mind that we are going to win. I don't even know what he said except that's bad. Bad. It's terrible. Bad. Bad. Terrible. What? Reciprocal tariff. Bad for consumer. The fuck did you say, dog? My mama? You said my mama?
Interest. China must take that strong action to retaliate. And this retaliate not only for Chinese interest, but we...
Somebody give me some captions over here. I need to get the captions. Let me see if I can get captions. They got captions? No captions. Stable volume. There we go. Subtitles. English.
Protect the WTO role and the WTO system. And we really worry about we couldn't let the world return to the jungle of jungle law.
Do you... What? Now, listen. I didn't just go and get some random video from some backdoor site, all right? This is not Backpage. This is Bloomberg. I went to Bloomberg TV with over 2 million subscribers to get this interview so that I can get somebody from the Chinese side. And that's the reason that I did it. I got somebody from the Chinese side to be able to explain to you guys how they see it and what the strategy is. And he talking about going back to the jungle. We gonna win this tariff war, y'all.
I don't know, though, whether the two sides are talking to each other right now. On tariffs, I know that communication is open between the two countries on a daily basis, but are the two sides talking about tariffs and trying to work out the trade war between the two sides?
So I think for this specific negotiation should be based on real instruction by two presidents. President Xi highly emphasized the relation with the United States. President Xi always emphasized based on 3 principles: mutual respect, coexist, and win-win situation to develop a healthy, stable, and sustainable relationship with the United States. That's China's policy. That's President Xi gave clear instruction to all level of Chinese staffs. That's based on that. I was before to deal with U.S. in economic. We fully respect the U.S. We fully follow the instruction by President Xi Jinping. We do everything maintain the healthy, stable, and sustainable relation with the U.S. But this time, again, we must take action, retaliate, because
All right. So, ChatGPT and AI is telling me that he's basically saying that China wants respect before they make a phone call. Let me give myself a round of applause. China wants respect. That's what he's basically saying. He's lying to us and saying that they respect all of the laws and they've been taking care of business and they abide by everything that they're supposed to do. That's a lie. And he's also saying that Chinese people want respect before they can start to make a phone call to figure out exactly what they're going to do. All right, let's skip over that and let's get over into Boeing, because I believe that they're saying that they're not going to ship any more parts. They're halting Boeing jet deliveries over there in China. Check it out.
Danny, this story just breaking right now. What do we know?
Isn't this the relief? We can actually hear what they're saying and we can translate it to a C-student's perspective.
Yeah, Anna, good morning. What we are seeing is a broader cachet of companies being caught up in US President Donald Trump's trade war, in which at least Chinese goods, they're being imposed a tariff of up to 145%. Now, what we know this time is that the Chinese government has...
How come China hasn't retaliated by raising tariffs again? How come Trump was the last person to hit him with that tariff?
Asked its carriers to stop taking delivery of Boeing aircraft in the meantime, and this extends to aircraft-related equipment and parts from US companies. Now, this order came last week.
And this is personally why I kept communicating to y'all and telling y'all, listen, we can't be interdependent on this. If this ain't the biggest reality check, then I don't know what is. This is how people should be looking at it here in the United States of America. This is a reality check. We never should have been this dependent on anybody else outside of the United States of America in order for us to be able to do what we got to do. We should have never, ever got this dependent on other countries. Should we take advantage of certain things? Sure. Is it a possibility that you can do trade with other countries? Absolutely. Becoming dependent on them for our survival? This is a reality check. We should have never got this cozy with other countries to where we can't take care of what we need to take care of here inside of the United States of America. Airbus is the one that's going to benefit from this. Now, I'm not telling y'all that y'all need to go in and invest in Airbus, but I think that Airbus is going to take 75 to 80% of the market. If you was thinking about buying in the Airbus stock, then maybe you should really consider it now. I don't believe in getting into that industry. I'm not telling my bag chasers to ever do that. I would never say that inside a stock club. You know what we do. Make sure y'all tap into the Patreon. Link is in the description. But now they're saying, well, we're going to halt orders from jet deliveries from Boeing, and we're also going to stop manufacturing certain things that then affect what's going on with American companies.
Just as China retaliated on the US with tariffs of 125%.
If you're saying that it's cutting out a little bit, then you need to go and refresh. Go and refresh and then come back in. Close it and then jump back in, and we'll be back to normal.
And for the airlines, it makes the economics of buying an aircraft more challenging. It doubles the cost, frankly. And we have heard these warnings from a number of airlines globally, from Delta to Ryanair, recently about the warnings of aircraft deliveries being delayed. But in this case, for China, given this rapidly evolving trade war dispute, we don't know yet if any of these positions would change in the next week or two or longer. We have seen, for example, Donald Trump's position on Apple iPhones, for example, change.
Yes, indeed. Some of these positions have been stuck to by the Trump administration, and some have appeared more flexible, or he has appeared more flexible.
It's not that he's been more flexible with it. It's certain things that he allowed for them, or he's easing restrictions as an olive branch to tell them, hey, listen, y'all ready to talk or not? Because if not, then we can go ahead and go back to the way things was, and I'm not tripping about it.
In how they are applied. So how significant is this then, Danny? I mean, what role, how significant for Boeing? How significant for Chinese aviation? What role do the two play with each other?
Well, it is extraordinary that two of the world's largest economies are facing off, and frankly, that Boeing once again caught in the middle of all of this. And for Boeing, China used to be one of its most important foreign markets as far as the billions of dollars worth of commercial aircraft it could sell into the country. And of late, over the last several years, it's been enormously difficult, and Boeing hasn't won a large aircraft order from a Chinese carrier for many years now. And
so what do you mean halting deliveries? It wasn't like they was buying our products anyway. They wasn't buying Boeing airplanes anyway. So what difference did it make? How was it benefiting us for you to stop something that you wasn't even going to do in the first place? They had stopped doing business with Boeing a long time ago.
It's a backdrop, frankly, of China trying to develop its own commercial aviation plane-making capabilities. And so it's increasingly being squeezed out in the Chinese market. And when you look at the growth prospects over the next 20 years, the fact that China is going to account for a fifth of all aircraft demand, it does remain to be seen what role Boeing has to play in the years to come. But clearly...
So this is the move from China has long been this. They've been doing what we should have been doing and what we're focusing on now. They've been focusing on it for a long time. Well, what does that mean? They are now, or they have been, basically saying, listen, we don't want to be dependent on anything inside of the United States of America, not just the United States of America. They don't want to be dependent on anybody in the world. So what they've been doing is, whereas they would order our products, would study our products, would understand our IP, they sometimes would even order something and break it down so that they can then rebuild it themselves. And now they've been trying to ramp up to where they then build and then service and sell their own planes to themselves as well as the rest of the world, so that they didn't have to be dependent on other people, including the United States of America, to go out and push out their products. They've been focusing on them like we need to focus on us. And then the people that's in the United States of America is saying that we need to focus on more, giving more money over to them so that we can get cheaper products. They have been in reverse engineering. Absolutely. Make sure y'all hit a like for the algorithm, subscribe to the channel, and turn on your notifications. It's so dumb. I just can't believe how many people have traded against the United States of America. Let me read some of the super chats. Shout out to Mr. Lot says, and we not picking Chun-Li on Street Fighter until further. I think we need to just remove her out of the Street Fighter universe. James says, have you seen Fleece on a 20 versus 1? It was diabolical. I have not. Send it to me. Email it to me. Anton Daniels 413@gmail.com. And then I'm going to go and check it out. We might even have to do a review video. I've never reviewed a 20 versus 1 before. Yeah, we might have to figure that out. We need to figure that out. Anyways, continue on with the show. Hey, what is this here? What we got here? I want to get into this video. Hold on. There we go. All right, so there's this big thing that's happening on every single social media platform where Chinese makers of products are now trying to expose luxury retailers and a get back play because they don't like the fact that they're starting to lose orders, having problems, and then ultimately losing money because their margins are so small. I'll explain it to you shortly. But this is what's happening in the social media space, and my timelines have been bombed with it.
This Birkin bag at Hermes Boutique will cost you $38,000 USD. But what is the real cost out of the factory? Today, I'm going to break it down in front of you, step by step.
These have been some of the most watched and very visible videos online over the past few days as well. If you're a TikTok user, if you're on Instagram as well, people are talking about these starting to appear, but they're essentially these buyers or these videos that they purport to show people that are in factories or different supplies possibly. Again, none of this is really confirmed, so it's sort of, you don't get a lot of transparency, I guess. But what they're doing is taking items and then breaking down the cost of those items to essentially say that there's a huge inflation that's just based on the Western brand value alone, or the French brand value, because that first video we saw was an Hermes bag, for instance, the Birkin, and saying if you actually broke down all of the different components, you're only talking about several $100s, just over $1,000, for instance, versus paying, say, $38,000 US in store.
Yeah, and I would imagine you're actually getting, I wouldn't say you're getting pushback, because we reached out to some of the actual brands themselves and they've declined to comment on this, whether or not we are actually seeing some of the influencers at the actual factories where their actual goods are created.
And that's why you got to be careful, because a lot of these, okay, so it's a couple of different ways that you can look at this. The first way that you can look at this is you have to start to figure out which brands, which I know that people ain't going to do that type of legwork, but let's just have the conversation. Which brands actually source out their products from these? Now, I know that there's other brands and certain luxury brands. I don't know anything about whether or not Birkin and stuff. I believe that the Birkin bags were supposed to be handmade in a specific place, and it takes so long in order for them to do so. But I don't know that for sure. But there are certain brands that do manufacture some of their products over into these places, and there's other brands that don't. And I'm not just talking about handbags. I'm talking about luxury items completely. One of the reasons why I like Swiss watches or I like luxury watches is because I know for a fact that these are made within those specific factories, handmade, and they only make so many of them, and it's not even made by a machine, it's made by a person inside of the factories that are in these locations where these watches come from. And that's one of the reasons why they hold their value. There are certain brands that then use these things, and it ranges anywhere from Lululemon to Alo to probably some of your favorite handbag retailers. And so now you see a lot of these places that source some of the products and then they create the knockoffs, or some of them actually are the manufacturers. I can't believe that they would be the manufacturers. And that's why I'm kind of taking this with a grain of salt. Some of them could be the manufacturers, some of them can't be. But I believe that there's an assault within our social media algorithms to try to show you this stuff, to then turn you against the luxury retailers inside of the United States of America. And I don't actually think that it's 100% true. Are luxury retailers using cheap labor in order to create products? I believe so. 100%. Do I think that it all completely comes from the places that's actually showing it on social media? I don't think so. Nope, not at all. Because then I'm starting to use the logic and say, well, why would luxury retailers, or why would the factories that create these products come online and ruin their relationship with the luxury retailers? Because that is the way that they make money. I don't believe it at all. But see, the American consumer, and if you go into the comments of a lot of these products, most of these places are basically creating knockoffs. And that's when they start to flood the American market with the knockoffs, and then it starts to devalue the brand where they actually create other stuff that's not even over at these places. The luxury brands may get it cheap, but it doesn't necessarily mean that they're doing business with the factories that's on these places that's creating this propaganda to turn you against American retailers. Why would they ruin their relationship that they have with the luxury brands that sells tens, if not 20, if not 30,000s of dollars, 30,000 products at high prices all over the world? Why would they risk their relationship with it? Then if you stay on that long enough, guess what you'll start to see? Chinese people showing up on your algorithm or on your page where they doing on your For You, where they doing lives trying to sell you luxury knockoff goods. Listen, fam, here's the biggest key from this. If you can't afford it, or if it's not something that you believe that you want to do, then stay out of that store. Listen, the people that was going to buy that product, if they was going to buy a Birkin, if they was going to buy a Chanel bag, if they was going to buy this, if they was going to buy that, guess what? This is not going to stop them from doing it. The people that was going to buy a knockoff, guess what? This is not going to incentivize them to do it even more. I don't believe that people should be knocking off the IP of somebody else that created a brand. If you don't like the brand, then don't shop at it. But don't go and buy the knockoff version and say, see, I deserve this. Forget the luxury. No, just get what you can afford or get your own brand on it. Create your own brand and market it to be something very valuable. Create your own brand. I cannot stand it. I don't care what kind of propaganda that they put in front of y'all to try to convince y'all that this makes sense. I don't like it. I'm not rocking with it. You're never going to convince me that it makes sense to go out here and wear knockoffs. I'm not wearing knockoffs. I don't care what factory you think it's from. I don't care what kind of propaganda is putting in front of you. I will just wear something that I am comfortable paying a price for. If I'm not comfortable paying whatever the price is for this luxury thing, then I'm going to buy the regular thing. Guess what? I like Levi's. I got not mom jeans. I know some of y'all gonna think that I got some mom jeans out here because I did get some mom jeans before mistakenly. But on my birthday, somebody bought me a bunch of Levi's, and I was very happy with that. I don't wear Amiri jeans. I'm not interested in it. I don't wear purple label jeans with the thing sticking out the pocket. That's not my thing. I like the way that Levi's fit, so I'm going to get 2 for $120 or whatever the price is, $130, whatever. I'm going to pay $60, $50, $75 for my jeans because that is what I want to pay for the jeans that actually got the really good quality, and it works for me. I rock out with Levi. I love Levi's. But then on the flip side, I might wear some Levi's, and then I may wear some Gucci loafers. I love Gucci loafers. I also have a pair of loafers that is local from somebody right here in Detroit that makes them here. And it costs almost as much as the Gucci loafer, and it actually fits better. And it's custom to my feet and all of my sizes and all of that stuff. So I may get some of my shoes custom made. I am willing to pay for the proper product and whatever it is, but I do not believe in rocking fake products. I'm just going to go with whatever it is that I feel comfortable paying and what works for me. And that's what I'm going to roll with. Long story short, I'm telling you that there's no way for you to justify falling into this Chinese propaganda to try to turn you against retailers and not support whatever it is that you wanted to support that you was going to buy in the first place. If you wasn't supposed to buy it, you're not supposed to buy it, but don't try to justify it and buy the knockoff and then walking around saying, see, we got the same thing. Nope, we don't have the same thing. Nope, we don't have the same thing. Somebody said Gucci is trash. I love Gucci. I love Gucci. 100%. Guess why? Guess what? Because I don't go by what other people think. I get what I want when I want to. Gucci for me is old school. I grew up and I was born in the 80s, raised in the 90s, and I remember the old 80s hustlers and when they was riding on the BBS rims and they had the BMWs and the Saabs and all of that stuff. And they had the Gucci, and I remember Dapper Dan. It was the Kango hats, and they had the Gucci hookups and stuff like that, and the jumpsuits. It was old school with the rope chain. That's what it reminded me of. I wear Coogis, not because everybody else is saying, oh, I don't like it, or I do like it, or Anton, that's an old school sweater. Oh, man, that's a Cosby sweater. They was wearing that back in the 70s and the 80s. It was dope to me in the 70s and the 80s. Guess what? I got 15 Coogee sweaters, and they range anywhere from $600 to $700 to $800 a piece. I love the sweater. I can't wait to put on a Gucci sweater. And when I put it on, it is awesome. And so you have to stop trying. You know what the problem with a lot of people is? I'm going to be honest with you. Yeah, the Mercedes 190E, you got it. You know what I like 96 Impalas. I like old school stuff. You know what the problem with a lot of people is? The problem with a lot of people is that they are easily influenced by other people that has no bearing on whether or not you're going to be successful or not. We are I want to be down and impress other people and don't have no individuality or a mindset of our own. And we are so easily convinced that somebody else should have some bearing on what you buy and put on your. When I see somebody wearing something, I may not wear it, but I don't call it trash because that's what they like and that's what's for them. Now, I may not wear it. It may not be my style. It may not be my thing. That's cool. I don't wear ripped jeans. I buy what I like, what make me feel great. When I get dressed and I'm feeling, you know what? I'm feeling dope. It's so easy for y'all to be little sheep and, oh, this, no, this, oh, this. Dog, find you. At some point in your life, you're going to have to wake up and find out what makes you great. Stop being so easily manipulated and for somebody else to have an influence on what you going to buy or what you going to wear. Don't you know that that's the corny part? They are, Antoine Johnson, too busy trying to please everybody else. I tell you what, it's not even always about what you wear. It's who wearing it. It's the confidence that you have to put it together. That's too much sauce for them. No, you got to get what everybody else got. You got to do what everybody else do. It's about who wearing it. You could take the same hookup and give it to two different people, and one person is going to look dumb and the other person is going to be fresh with it because they know how to rock it and they got the confidence to pull it off. And I love it. And I see somebody that's fresh or they may be doing something different. I'll be like, dog, that's dope. I mean, I couldn't pull it off, but that's dope on you. Oh, thanks, fam. I appreciate that. I love your individuality. Rita will take a tie and cut it up and add some bunch of stuff and throw a pin on her shirt or whatever and be fresh as hell all day, every day. And I'll be like, couldn't nobody pull that off but you. Couldn't nobody rock that but you. Couldn't nobody rock it with her, but she got her own style, her own individuality. She like Nike shoes. I don't really care for Nike shoes. She got her own style. My daughter got her own style. Everybody got their own thing. And y'all got to stop following the herd and start leaning into your own. Find out who you are. Find out who you are and rock it out according to whatever it is that you do. I like certain suits. And then the next day I may wear a hoodie. I like custom shirts that don't have nobody's name on it, that got my own name on it. And I wear that every single day on the Millionaire Morning Show. And then other days I might just wear a t-shirt that costs, $20, $30. And that is the shirts. And I got 1,000 just black t-shirts, black. And it's a certain brand and a certain cut and a certain fit and it's a certain quality, a certain cotton. And I wear those. And then other times I like wearing the old school Gucci, Dapper Dan down. You got to find you. Be comfortable being you. Stop trying to be everybody else. All right? And let me also say this. Just because you're wearing poor clothing don't mean you're rich. People keep trying to act like, oh, no, I dress down because wealth is silent. No, you just poor. No, you just poor. That's it. No, because wealth is silent and you shouldn't need all of those brands. No, that's you trying to cope with the fact that you can't do what you want to do when you want to do it. And so you keep on wearing them Crocs every day because wealth is silent. No, you just broke. It's a difference between choosing to do this and being required to be. That's why I don't even rock with that type of stuff because I'd rather do. I can't stand. People will tell me all the time, man, you could have put that money in. Who you talking to? We're not in the same tax bracket. I can. And what you don't know is I have, but I also have the autonomy to do what I want to do and buy what I want to buy. You know why? Because it's my money. Everybody want to be like, no, wealth is silent. That's why I drive a 1992 Escort, because I don't want nobody to know I got money. Congratulations. We believe you. We think you broke as hell because you driving a 1992 Escort. Nobody is going to suspect or nobody going to try to finesse you out of your bag, sir. You got it. You got the 92 Escort. I say it's one life to live. Today I drove the Mercedes. Yesterday I rode the 911. I trade cars like you trade shoes. Yesterday I did the 911 all weekend for the birthday. The week before that I did the 96 Impala. The week before that we did the Challenger. The week before that we did the Cybertruck. The week before that we did the TRX. The week before that we did. I'm going to do what I wanted. I'm going to live. I am going to live life to the fullest. To the fullest. I'm not going to leave nothing on the table. And then you die and you was just suffering your whole time on this earth. No, do both. Be responsible, take care of your business, and then live life. Make sure y'all hit a like for the algorithm, subscribe to the channel, and turn on your notifications. You're not going to try to convince me that you poor just because you want to be poor. People justifying poverty. No, I'm good. 392Q says, why haven't they exposed luxury brands before tariffs? All propaganda, big dog. They manufacture them, but they don't design them. Shout out to Zach. I appreciate you. Pierre, you in here? Says, please buy our knockoff Americans. That's all I see. I hope you had a great day. Mine yesterday, Big 33. Shout out to the Big 33 and the people that had birthdays in April. I love it. Carrington Love Jr. says, Anton, this is the funniest show ever. The Anton Daniels, by the Anton Daniels Network. I like that. Anton Daniels Network. Also, I hope everybody paid their taxes. Yeah, today is tax day. Today is tax day. The 15th. Fake products are for broke people to fit in. Shout out to you, young guy. Shout out to DOD. I love that. That's a little weird, that profile picture, but I feel you. Purple Haze says, do you think by Italian brands moving Chinese labor into their country to ensure the product is still made in Italy will affect U.S. consumption? You saying Italian brands moving Chinese labor. Okay, so they're moving the products from Chinese labor into their country will affect U.S. consumption. No, I think that people in the U.S. going to buy whatever it is that they want to buy regardless. I think we buy what we want. We don't care what nobody else thinks. Mr. Jones says, you got a favorite cologne? Yep, soap and lotion. That's my favorite cologne. Soap and lotion. A lot of soap, a lot of water, a lot of lotion. I hear it's a lot of colognes. Rita be talking about Creed and all of this other type of stuff. I've never gotten into it. Maybe one day I will. I just think it's overconsumption, right? Sometimes I'll be seeing a lot of these Chaldeans that's here in the United States of America, here over here in Michigan, and a lot of these Arabs, they put on all the cologne. They take the whole bottle and it just be like, that's a lot, big dog. You don't want to slow down on the cologne? Not even a little bit, just a teeny bit? That's kind of turned me off. Like, dog, y'all put on all of it. You know you ain't got to put on all of it. TLC says, don't go chasing waterfalls. Shout out to TLC. A-Man01, that was you. Christopher Mayberry says, send my boy the link. Oh, I need it. I need it. From Rolex, and he told me he going to get a knockoff. Had to put the phone down on him. Shout out to Christopher Mayberry. Make sure y'all hit a like for the algorithm, subscribe to the channel, and turn on your notifications. Yeah, they do bathe in it, ABJ's wide, strong, and smooth. All right, last thing that I want to talk about to you guys is what is happening over at these manufacturing facilities. All right, I want to spend 10 minutes on this. 5 minutes on this one, 5 minutes on the next one. So this is some of the steel industry plants that have been decimated in certain cities that now are speaking about what they feel like is happening with the Trump tariffs. Check it out.
President Trump is defending his 25% tariff on steel imports, claiming they're bringing trillions of dollars of businesses back to the U.S. This comes as the impacts of those tariffs are already being felt in places like Ohio, where many workers rely on the steel industry. Jason Carroll is out front.
I'm very optimistic, and I agree.
You're optimistic?
I am. I'm extremely optimistic.
Optimistic? Not.
Big dog ain't missing no meals, did he? Got that trucker. I always wonder how people centralize what they eat, and when they gain weight, it don't proportionately distribute to other parts of your body. Like it's supposed to go to your arms, your fingers, your hands. But for whatever reason, some of these people, it gets stuck right at the belly. It never goes into the feet. And people be like, they be Mr. Incredible. You know what I'm saying? They have really, really teeny tiny legs and have a huge trucker belly. Like, why didn't that food distribute itself more proportionately to the rest of the body? I don't understand how people have little legs and big old stomachs. That is so weird to me.
The word some might use to describe their outlook on the economy, given all the back and forth with tariffs. But here at Swanton Welding, just outside Toledo, Ohio, the company's owner, Norman Zeiter, says thanks to Trump's tariff tactics, he and his workers are feeling good about the future of the business, despite all the ups and downs on Wall Street.
Wall Street affects us to a certain extent, but not a lot.
Welder.
Oh, they wasn't expecting that. They went into the factory thinking that they was going to be against the Trump administration and against small business. Guess what? They're feeling optimistic. I wonder why.
Like Ethan Sanderson, also feeling bullish, hoping all that is happening with tariffs will eventually mean more work and income for people like him, which cannot come soon enough, given he's about to be a new father.
Once everything gets sorted out, that it'll help us out in the long run.
Swanton Welding has been a part of this community since Zeiter's grandfather, a World War II veteran, started it back in 1956 with just $100 in his pocket. Maintaining it has been tough. The U.S. Steel and wide swaths of the manufacturing industry have been on the decline for decades due to factors such as declining demand and the inability to compete in global markets. Toledo once buzzed during the steel manufacturing heyday in the 1950s. Now, the unemployment rate is 6.6%, compared to the national average of 4.1%.
We're one of the last standing ones in this area.
Still standing and getting a boost from Trump's tactics. Zeiter says 5 international companies have already reached out to do business.
We had Italy, we had France, we had Great Britain. We had a Canadian company reach out to us.
You had a Canadian company?
Yes.
He says it's the first time in 70 years a Canadian company has called wanting to work with them.
Oh, so Trump's tariffs are helping businesses in middle America. A lot of times we get very, very caught up in Wall Street. Wall Street. Hey, what's happening on Wall Street? Wall Street. Let me ask some of y'all a question that always is asking me about and talking about Wall Street and haven't even seen the movie Wall Street. How many of y'all actually been on Wall Street? How many of you ever been within 100 feet of the U.S. Stock Exchange? How many of you guys actually even understand how banks work? How many of you guys actually fully funded your 401k last year? The heartbeat of America and what really drove this country to be successful is small business. It wasn't Wall Street. And I'll give you another open secret. Guess what? Wall Street is going to be just fine. Nobody is worried about finance bros. Nobody is worried about what's happening over at Bank of America. Nobody is scared about what's happening over at Chase, Wealth Investments. Nobody is worried about Comerica. Nobody is worried about any of these places. Wall Street is going to be just fine. What we need to be focusing on 100% is middle America and small towns such as Toledo, Ohio, and all of these other places, in these places that actually employ and put food on the table for people in the local economy. That is where we need to be focused. And if we are not driving towards that, and Trump's tariffs are 100% focused on helping middle America survive, thrive, and then expand, that is where we need to be putting all of our energy. But we are so short-sighted and we got these short-term memories. We almost need to bring back Vine. I think Vine would absolutely hit in this economy.
Across town at Wurzel's bike shop, owner Jill Wurzel also has heard from an overseas distributor.
I just got that a few minutes ago before you came in, and I was reading it and I about had a heart attack.
Wurzel received an email from a Taiwanese company informing her if tariffs do go into effect, she may have to pay an increase of up to 79%.
That's a huge impact on a small business.
She buys from China, Taiwan, and Cambodia and worries how tariffs would impact costs to customers and her ability to maintain her staff.
Payroll would be reduced and somebody might lose their job, or a full-time person will be part-time.
The Wursel family has been in the bike business for 80 years since her grandfather founded it in 1945. The threat of
But Schwinn, let me see something. Schwinn, I thought that Schwinn was always an American company. But Schwinn, for example, is an original American bike brand. But they don't want to sell Schwinns no more. They want to sell them as cheap as possible in order to increase the margins. They don't want to sell actual quality bicycles. They want to sell this crap that gets imported over to the United States of America and then open up a business and then say, we're an American business that sell all Chinese and Cambodian products.
tariffs, now a concern for a new generation of employees. Wursel's nephew and his wife just quit their jobs a few weeks ago to join the family business.
We're a little bit nervous, but we trust in Jill. We know that she knows this business really well.
Back at Swanton Welding, also a new generation, one hoping Trump's tactics will benefit their industry. Allison Fagerman is an 18-year-old welder who works with her father.
I'm hoping that it gets better, and I'm sure it will. I feel like we're on a bumpy road, and eventually we'll get to a smoother road.
Jason Carroll, CNN, Toledo, Ohio.
So that is what's happening over in a lot of these industries that are affected, that were being affected by the Biden administration and administrations before them. But now we are trying to bolster them up. On the flip side, this is what's happening with American manufacturers that do not manufacture cars inside of the United States of America. Now, I don't feel like pulling it back up. Anyways, the point that I'm making is that we have to support American brands. It is nothing wrong with supporting things that are made in the United States of America. I personally am pledging to not buy anything that I know as far as different manufactured products. Let me not say that, because I think that people should be able to buy whatever it is that they want to buy. So buy what you want to buy. If you decide to buy something that has a tariff on it, just be willing to pay the price and the difference that is then sent to you. For me in particular, I am going to focus more. I'm not going to say completely at all. I'm not going to say completely at all. I don't want to make that level of definitive. I am going to spend more of my time researching and buying things and being very diligent in what I purchase here in the United States of America to buy from manufacturers here in America. I plan on buying a new electric bike, just to get around a little bit in the city, and then I park it inside of my actual residence inside of my apartment down here in downtown. And so I plan on buying a new electric bike. And so I've been researching to see which bikes are made here inside of the United States of America. If you guys decide that you want to buy a luxury brand from China, then you're just going to have to pay the difference. If you want to buy a luxury brand from Europe, then you're just going to have to pay the difference. Pay the tariff. It's certain cars that I want that is going to be shipped over here from the factory, from certain places. I'm not going to say it. Y'all just going to see it when it pop up. And if it's a tariff and if it's a markup on it, I should be willing to pay the price. But I'm also purchasing vehicles, and I have 4 different American-made vehicles inside of my driveway also. So I want both. And if I'm willing to have both, then I should be willing to pay the tariff on top of it. That's all I'm saying. Somebody said, what happened to your old bike? I gave it away. Gave it away to somebody else that I thought that really needed it. I am a compassionate person. I am very compassionate to what people need. So I seen somebody that was needed it more than I did to get around. And I don't want to say their circumstance, but shout out to them because they probably watched the show. And they needed a form of transportation, a quick transportation that was cheap and was low cost, low maintenance, but definitely can help them. And on top of that, you know, it didn't cost them anything. And so I wound up giving them a bike. I wasn't using it. It's not something that I felt like was going to change my life. It didn't change my life at all. And so I wound up giving it to them, and then they working it. They working it. And they've been using it for like DoorDash and Grubhub and Uber Eats and stuff. So they've been using it to make money, and they've been using it to get around. So shout out to them. It served them more than it served me. I spent a lot of money on that bike. I spent almost like $3,000 for that bike. It's an electric bike. So shout out to them, man. It don't hurt me none. Anyways, I love y'all. I appreciate y'all. I think that y'all the greatest audience on earth. Vincent Holder says, NYC and the 90s luxury brands send their patterns to companies to copy, sell them cheaper in the garment district. Yeah, I don't like that. I don't like that at all. Somebody said you too generous. What's wrong with doing good for other people? What is being too generous? Listen, man, I am super blessed. I'm super blessed. I am very, very blessed. What is wrong with then looking out for your neighbor if somebody said they need something? And you know what my mindset is with that? A lot of times, I see people a lot of times and something bad will happen or they get their cars broken into and they'll get something meaningless stolen or a little bit of $20 or $30 was sitting in their cup holder or something. They'll say, well, they could have just asked for it and I'd have gave it to them. And then people ask you and they say stuff to you all the time. Hey, can I get a little bit of help? And you bypass them. Oh, they just going to use it on drugs or stuff like that. And you don't look out for them. When you have an opportunity, if you are blessed. Now, this is for people that have an abundance. This is not for people that still need to get themselves together and it's actually going to hurt you. First, fill your cup up. And then as you have that overflow, you have to be selfish before you can be selfless because you can't pour out of an empty cup. You give them yours, you ain't got nothing, you're going to suffer, ain't nobody going to come and save you. So if you get to a place in your life where you have an overabundance, then it's nothing wrong with making sure that you look out for people when they say that they need it. Or they say that they want it, or they say that, yo, I need this, or whatever, so on and so forth. It's nothing wrong with tithing to the streets. That's what I call it, tithing to the streets, all right? Again, make sure I hit a like for the algorithm, subscribe to the channel, and turn on your notifications. Make sure y'all tap into After Hours tonight. I'm glad that you guys tuned into the Millionaire Morning Show. You guys have been the greatest audience ever, and it should be a great show. And then look out for the post inside of the Patreon. I love y'all. I appreciate y'all. I'm going to holler at y'all later. Peace.